Welcome to the Lounge Lizards podcast, presented by Fabrica 5. It's so good to have you here. It's a leisure and lifestyle podcast founded on our love of premium cigars, as well as whiskey, travel, food, work, and whatever else we feel like getting into. My name is Gizmo. Tonight I'm joined by Rooster, Pagoda, Chef Ricky, Grinder, and Bam Bam. And our plan is to smoke a cigar, drink some tequila, talk about life, and of course, have some laughs. So take this as your 168th official invitation to join us and become a card-carrying lounge lizard. Plan to meet us here once a week. We're going to smoke a Cuban cigar tonight, share our thoughts on it, and give you our formal lizard rating. We do our first ever revisit to a cigar we smoked years ago. We answer listener emails on cigar storage and towers, and we play a voice memo about eating while smoking, all among a variety of other things for the next 2 hours. So sit back, get your favorite drink, light up a cigar, and enjoy as we pair Mijenta Tequila Blanco with the Juan López Selección number 1. A Cuban Corona Gorda on the pod tonight. It's the Juan López Selección number 1. And it's a 46 ring gauge cigar by 5 5/8 inches long. And boys, we talked about this 2 weeks ago on the La Flor de Cano Elegidos episode. This is the first time on the pod that we are revisiting a cigar that we have already reviewed.
Correct.
So we did this cigar in episode 15, which is crazy. That's 153 weeks ago.
And according to you, that was complete amateur hour.
Oh, yeah. I was listening to it a little bit today.
According to him, it still is.
You're not wrong.
So we are revisiting cigars that we've reviewed in the past, and cigars, namely, that originally scored under an 8.0. That's the plan, to give them another shot. Certainly going to do a different run of each of these cigars. We'll talk about all those details in a minute, but that's the idea here tonight, and so we'll see how this does.
I can't believe I gave it a very low score.
I don't think you did. I think I'm going to guess you and I probably gave it the highest scores in the room because we both love this cigar.
I do.
But I have to tell you.
All will be revealed, Bam.
This is gorgeous.
It is. This is a really
glistening,
good-looking box that we just
beautiful
cracked.
Dark wrapper.
Beautiful wrapper.
Yeah.
Great size.
It's
like an Upman 46.
It's an impressive, expensive-looking cigar tonight.
Well, let's cut this thing, boys. See, we're getting on the cold draw on the wrapper. As Rooster just noted, this is the same size as the Magnum 46 from H. Upman and the Cohiba Sigil 4, the Corona Gorda. And a Punch, excuse me. I almost forgot the Punch.
Correct.
Which is another one on the list for a revisit. So we're going to do these sparingly throughout the year, revisit some cigars. It's kind of like the turning point, I believe, is around 3 years of going back to revisit regular production Cubans. There are plenty that we haven't done, but we have to hit the staples.
It's just incredible how many episodes have passed.
It's crazy. It's 3 years.
Because it does still feel like last month to me.
I
that we
totally
just
agree.
started.
Yeah. It's
Love
wild.
it. That's cool.
Well, I love this. When I cut it, the cap just came off, really.
That's what you want to do. It's perfect.
It's really good.
Perfect. You know why? You used an elevated cutter.
It is, I'll tell you, I must say.
You used your cutter, right?
Yes.
That's correct.
That was really sharp. I must say it was really sharp.
That's awesome. What are you guys getting on the cold draw here?
Cedar.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm getting a little mint.
Maybe a little fig.
Fig.
I was gonna say
fig or raisin. Yeah, for sure.
My draw is a little tight. I'm not getting all of that just yet. I'm a little tight here. It's very dense.
Mine was very tight when I took the cap off. I just had to take
A little bit more.
I wouldn't mind passing you the perfect draw. You may want to start working on that.
Well, I would light it first.
You think?
Mine's tasting like pecan chocolate chip cookies.
Of course it is.
But you just had them. Courtesy of Mrs. Chef Ricky.
This is not, for me, this is another pet peeve. Before the recording, I really try not to eat anything right before we start, the press button.
Pagoda's still chewing.
I'm telling it affect. I don't know. Maybe I'm being crazy, but it does affect your taste buds a bit.
I think he's right. I think there's actual truth to that, scientific truth.
Like I had dinner an hour and a half ago, right? Had a glass of water, took a nap. I'm ready to go. No food, no contaminants, nothing.
Pagoda, you ruined the whole night.
You fucked it up.
No, some of us don't have the luxury of working from home.
This is true.
Where we can eat a dinner an hour and a half before showing up.
And take a nap.
Yeah, take a nap. Maybe goggle up mouth, do some exercises.
I'm a
just
senior.
so that the voice sounds good.
I'm a senior citizen. I
Hit
got
the gym.
leisurely.
Right? Right?
Get some bench press.
Right,
in.
kids? Don't they do the vocal cord exercise like
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Bam and I have a whole exercise routine for the voice.
We do.
Unique New York.
We do.
Yes.
Unique New York.
All right, boys,
All
let's
right.
light this thing. The Juan López Selección #1. Again, it's a Cuban Corona Gorda. 46 ring gauge cigar by 5 5/8 inches long. The first cigar that we're ever returning to on the podcast. One that we've already reviewed, but we're going to do it again and see if it has a better performance from a different box code, which we'll talk about in a minute.
Great aroma.
Oh, that's stellar on the light.
Smells delicious on the light.
This is
It's heaven. It's awesome.
Wow, that's a great cigar.
this is a quintessential Cuban cigar. You get everything you want here.
Can we rate it?
This is really nice on the
There's
light.
fruity sweetness. There's some savory notes here. There's a good amount of walnut for me and some cedar.
Coffee.
The baking spices
What
are
the-
out of this world right
What's
now.
going on here? Off the
like-
charts right now.
It's kind of tangy.
I'm getting a classic BAM note.
grapefruit.
Citrus.
That's the tanginess. Yeah.
There's a citrus there, BAM.
Maybe like a lemon type
Yeah.
thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Right?
really nice on the light.
Yeah.
Now, Chef, have you had this cigar?
I have not.
It's your first
Well,
JL1.
My first year.
Wow. Good for you.
The shape not only reminds me of the mag, but the flavor as well, right? Is that
This is a little divergent from the Mag 46 for me. I think Mag 46, you get more of that Upman baking spice. I think that's a little more full than this is. I think that touches a little higher on the medium end.
I agree with that.
I think the espresso or dark
That's
chocolate
definitely there.
is there on both.
Yeah.
I think the citrus thing makes this stand out for me.
Yeah, it's a very apparent flavor profile. Kind of smacks you in the face.
Is this in the budget category for Cuban cigars?
No. Let's talk about that.
Well, we could talk about that. Good question.
I can't wait for this conversation.
Oh, sorry.
You don't know what's in store. It's very cool.
So to answer Chef Ricky's question, let's start with the box code. So the box code on episode 15 we reviewed a long time ago was December 2019. This box is September 22, so almost 3 years later on the run of cigars. Very nice on the light, for
Gorgeous.
sure. So let's talk about the prices, boys. When we first reviewed this cigar on episode 15, February 15th of 2022, that episode came out. The price of the cigar at that time was $11.80.
Oh my!
Wow.
$295 a box.
That's
value stick.
that
man.
is insane.
So the answer to your question, I think at one point it was a value stick.
Yeah.
When I purchased this box around a year ago, the price was $18 a cigar. $450 I paid for this box.
Oh my god!
For 25 cigars. Now, today, to go out and purchase this, you're going to find this box for $555-ish, give or take, and the price of the cigar is average $22.50.
It's double the price
So it has doubled in price since we reviewed it
3 years.
in 3 years.
Yeah, but what cigar has not doubled in price?
That's
But just
the Habanos.
Just think about
Name
that.
one that
I mean,
hasn't
that's
doubled.
just insanity.
if not tripled or quadrupled. Cohibas and Trinidad's have tripled or quadrupled.
but
in
this is
price.
not a luxury brand according to Habanos.
Yeah, but they go across the board, right?
it's insane.
I mean, a D4 was half the price
Yeah, it's crazy.
or less.
They run it like a local store, like a local Indian
Exactly.
store. Let's just
like a
triple
bodega.
the price of this and double the price of that.
They did this. They did successive waves of price increases, though, right? So they had
They were close together.
They were looking 3 years down the line.
Oh, yeah, they knew.
And they're like, okay, this is our pricing strategy for the next 3 years. We think that we can capture more of the market with this price and make more money, blah 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 blah. And they did it. And then guess what? They probably are.
Well, initially, I think it was a reaction to the supply issues, right? The entire world, all of the LCDHs, all the stores around the world, the retailers were out of cigars.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was the corrective measure with the supply-demand issue they were having.
That could have
And
been
now,
that could have
as-
been intentional, by the way.
Of course it could. And as supply has picked back up, certainly
Yeah.
the prices are continuing to increase and will continue to increase, probably 5 to 10% a year, I would think. So, boys, I also pulled, just for context, I thought this was cool. I pulled some information around that episode just to kind of remember that time period in our lives. So, like I said, we released that episode February 15th, 2022, and Russia invaded Ukraine 11 days later.
Wow.
Pretty wild.
That's wild.
My daughter was born 10 days later.
Hey.
I was getting there.
Yeah.
Your daughter was born 10 days later, and we joined
Baby Grinder.
1086 11 days
Look
after
at,
that episode came out, one day after his daughter was born.
look at that.
Because he was in the
I
hospital.
was in the hospital filling out this like check and registration for
yeah, the membership form.
they're like, we got a new lounge. And I'm like, okay, book me.
I remember that.
That's funny.
Pretty
Like-
amazing that it's been 3 years
Yeah.
since all of those events, and coming up now on 3 years
Mhm.
since we last smoked this cigar together.
Incredible.
We'll do that as we revisit cigars in the future here. We'll go through some of the pricing stuff. We'll talk about the box code differences. We'll talk about some current events that were happening, kind of place the context. And then toward the end of the episode tonight, when we rate it, we'll compare to our original ratings. And we'll
Yeah.
see how these runs have changed.
Yeah.
So what are you getting right now, boys, on the Selección number 1?
I think it's a continued concentration in baking spice and for me, a bit of walnut and fig and raisin. That's pervasive for me.
Yeah. Yeah, some dried fruit, a little milk chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, milk chocolate or coffee? Because
One or the
I'm
other.
See some
I'm
coffee
drinking
there.
some espresso.
Maybe some, yeah.
But it's so enjoyable, like very tasty, isn't it?
It is.
Mm-hmm. Velvety smoke.
I think it's almost like Giz like sprayed these with something.
It's like a digestive. This is like a
Mm,
after dinner.
absolutely.
Well, I, for one, at this point in the cigar, am so happy that we have decided to re-review it
It's
because
a great idea.
this is superb right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
good.
I'm thinking about what I'm like plotting in my brain
What's
when
next?
I'm going to have my next one.
No.
You know,
Is that the only box of jail ones that you have?
it is, and I cracked it tonight with you guys.
Wow.
I had not had any of the cigars out of this box. I bought it about a year ago,
Nice.
never intending to review it per se.
Mhm.
But as we were discussing the turnaround and kind of hitting reset on regular production Cubans, sprinkling them back in.
I
This was the
almost-
first one I went to.
I do prefer these over the Juan López number 2.
Yeah, the
Me too.
Robusto.
I'm not a fan
Yeah.
of the number 2.
Yeah, I
It's
like
okay.
these a lot more.
You know what I'm enjoying about these here is that, you know, the baking spice, it's a little velvety on the smoke, but there's just enough of a light spice there that's separate from the baking spice to make it complex and interesting for me. Like there's a little bit of a bite.
Well,
It doesn't feel totally mild.
so
to
for me, the only place where I could see that is at the finish of my retrohale.
Yeah.
I'll
Yep.
get very slight pepper, which is really enjoyable. Usually that makes me sneeze, but not with the stick. It's very smooth.
Yeah, I'm enjoying that very
Yeah.
much.
The spice is kind of funky.
Yeah.
It's got like an aged beef.
Mhm.
Yeah, almost pungent type thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm serious.
I like that.
Yeah.
So, boys, let's go through some Juan López history. I reviewed what we had discussed on episode 15 and also on episode 92 when we did the Juan López Selección number 2 you guys were talking about. And I feel we could fill some of the gaps. So, Florida Juan López was founded in 1876. It was established by Juan López Sena, also known as Juan López Diaz, in Havana. Originally located on Calle de los Dragones y Industria, right around the corner, Bam, from the Partagas factory, the old Partagas
Oh,
factory,
yeah.
right near the Capitol building.
Yeah.
By the 1890s, the brand was very well respected for its quality and craftsmanship and quickly became a top seller of Cuban cigars. Before 1900, it was sold to a guy named Thomas Gutierrez, who proudly advertised on his building being the successors to Juan López. So on the front of his building, it said Fábrica Tobacos y Cigarrillos, and then right in the center, it said successors to Juan López, and then Fábrica de Tomás Gutierrez, which I thought was pretty cool. And then again in 1918, the brand was sold to Sociedad Cosme del Peso y Silla, which is I want to note because before they changed the bands in 2005, the original Juan López bands that you find on some of the older cigars actually noted that ownership, even though obviously in 1960 the Cuban government
Mhm.
took all these over, They kept the name of the company on the band up until 2005.
Cool.
Following the Cuban Revolution, the brand's production was nationalized, of course, and continued under government control. By the late 1970s, the brand's prominence had waned, leading to a smaller production range. By the 1980s, they had canceled a lot of stuff. In 1990, to meet the growing demand for Corona Gordos, like we have in our hand, a Robusto, the two models, Selección number 1 and Selección number 2, were introduced. Some cool stuff. Boxes from the 1940s and the 1970s showcase distinctive designs that set them apart from contemporary package. So if you look at what they had during those periods, they were kind of standout packaging, because we know that, they didn't really start even putting bands on cigars until the 1930s, I believe, 1940s. But they had always had great packaging. And then I found this interesting as well. For a long time, these cigars were hard to find outside of Cuba, especially in Europe.
Wow.
So Europeans had to travel elsewhere to find them. Finally, Habanos SA classifies Juan López in the other category, the other marketing category. Juan López is a favorite for regional editions, with 23 regional editions since 2006. So right now, currently available are only 2 cigars released in the early 1990s, the Selección number 1 and the Selección number 2. Before 2005, funny enough, these cigars did not come with bands. They do offer them in slide lid boxes of 25 cigars like we have tonight, and they have a discontinued slide lid box of 50 cigars in both of those. There also is an LCDH exclusive called the Selección Especial. The factory name is a Fortunas, 52 ring gauge by 6 3/4 inches. Tons of discontinued cigars, as I said, and the list of regional editions that you see here on CubanCigarWebsite.com is endless. So if you are interested out there in seeing what they offer as far as regionals going back to 2006, check out Cuban Cigar website. That is Juan López.
I'd like to try that LCDH 52 ring gauge.
It's on the list. I'm going to get that.
That sounds interesting.
Is that the one that comes with a really ornate, like a white box, lacquered box?
Yes, you're 100% right. It was released in late 2021, announced during COVID, and comes in a very nice lacquer cedar box. And it also has a kind of Ramon green outer velvet cover for it.
I've seen that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I'm sure they're very, very expensive. So we'll earmark this for a
It'll be interesting to
release.
have Juan López in that ring gauge.
Yeah, I think when it came out, they were going for about $1,200 to $1,300 a box.
Wow.
That range. I don't know what it's currently, but
That's driven by the LCDH band, no doubt.
yeah,
Yep.
in the box.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
So yeah, Juan López has some murky history, even though they've been around for a long time. It took me like 6 to 8 sources just to put together that little tidbit of info.
Bit obscure.
Went to Min Ronnie's book, went to Cuban Cigar website, was on the internet. I was all over the place, and there's just not a ton of info out there.
Yeah.
So
It's not really a sought after cigar. Like not a lot of people talk about it.
It's unfortunate because it's delicious.
It is, right?
There's only
Yeah.
two Vitolas.
2 Vitolas, yeah.
It's a shame.
It's true.
yeah, I mean that LCDH release was the first release in 30 years
Unbelievable.
for Juan López from early 1990s to 2020.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said, it's a vehicle for regionals.
Exactly.
Do you think this is worth $22?
It's hard for me to say any cigar of this size is worth $22, but that's where Habanos has pushed us. So, inside the Habanos catalog comparatively, I think it's performing very, very well.
Aren't we paying roughly that for a Mag 46 and a Punch? We're in that
Yeah,
price
they're all in
range.
the same price range with the same size.
It's where we are now. So and the way this is tasting and performing, I'd pay $22 for this, because I know I'm going to pay this for a Punch or a Mag 46.
Very comparative to the sister cigars,
Yeah.
same size.
It sucks that I have to pay that, but it is what it is.
Great construction on the cigar.
This is a fantastic. Like
Flawless.
this is
Grinder's ashes stacking dimes. Look at that. thing.
Perfect burn line.
It's perfect. I think we all have great ashes.
Yep.
I just want to clarify you said ashes.
Correct.
So-
You have a great ash. You have a great ash.
Well done, old
am
boy.
I the most aggressive smoker right now?
No, we're all right there. I'm right there.
No, I'm right there.
Oh no,
because
you must have.
I ashed a
Oh.
little bit, yeah.
It's like one of the cigars which for me, which I call, I know we have discussed this often, I think it gives me one of these floral, salty kind of flavors, which envelopes my top of my palate, and I love it. And it's there's something about these kind of cigars which I think like medium to long finish for me. I like this is fantastic.
Yeah.
I think
Nobody-
the finish is very long.
Yeah, no one has mentioned the floral note so far, but I think you're spot on. There is a floral component to the cigar.
There's a very floral component to the burn, the smell at the burn.
So
line.
that's exactly where I'm capturing that note. Not in the traditional draw or retro, but the aroma. It's really spectacular. It's not bitter in any way.
It's like the retro. There's a kind of spice in this cigar that's not pepper spice. It's as Bam mentioned, it doesn't make you sneeze on the retro, but it gives you that the tingly feeling like you're eating horseradish or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, either that or kind of like the, when you said citrus, it's kind of like the citrus peel.
Yeah,
Yes.
the orange
Like,
grind,
yeah,
right?
like
Orange
the-
rind.
Yeah.
Like the marmalade.
It all comes back to the
The
marmalade.
marmalade. Yeah, no, but it was definitely the oranges
orange,
got the rind.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it is for me? It's almost like a very, very fresh lemon. Like not one that's been sitting,
Is it wet?
in the store, sitting in the store or on your counter for a while. Like it's like it was just picked. Very, very fresh. I'm getting that kind of intense citrus kind of flavor. As the lemon sits, it kind of softens and
Mhm.
becomes a little more sugary.
You are the lemon expert.
Love lemon.
Correct. Everything you guys are talking about describes a very complex, sophisticated cigar.
It does.
Everything that you're discussing really is backing that up here.
You
For
said
this-
you said sophisticated the way Pagoda spelt it the other
Sophisticated.
I am slightly dyslexic.
No, this is great, and I gotta say, my time here is done, guys. I mean, the way you guys are just throwing away flavor notes and aromas that are food based it's incredible.
Well, see, on a cigar like
Uh,
this, it's easy.
Yeah,
It's-
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think this is
it's-
easy. I don't
it
think
is
it's
very clear.
Like
yeah.
this cigar has very distinct notes
Mhm.
that I think, and this is for a smoker out there who's listening right now. And we get some of these emails sometimes from listeners who say, "Hey, I can't pick out notes. I can't taste anything more than is it a good cigar or is it a bad cigar?"
Mm.
I think this is a great example of a cigar that is very distinctly pointing you to
Yeah.
Yeah.
5, 6, 7 different things,
Yep.
and it's not muddled. It's very clear. It's complex, and what I love is it's all working together.
Agreed. And for those guys and gals that can't pick out notes, you got to go through a lot of cigars. Take your time. It wouldn't be out of the question to sit and take notes on some of the cigars that you really love and go back to those notes to see if you're getting those after smoking 4 or 5 or 10 of them.
I also think it's important to smoke with people that enjoy doing the same thing.
Yeah, and
because
you
if
can
it
share
becomes
your
part of the
experience.
conversation, and you
Yes.
start.
Yes.
And sometimes that's if you're not picking up on those flavors, or
Correct.
you're picking up on a flavor and you don't know how to describe it,
Right.
and someone mentions it, and you're like, "That's it. Like that's
Yeah.
what I'm.
You know,
feeling,
you-
that's what
you-
I'm. Yeah.
That's
You
right.
hit it so right, because oftentimes, even when I'm smoking with a lot of the other guys, people can experience certain flavors, but they don't know how to describe it.
Mhm.
And I think for me, I go through that even now. Like I don't know how to very specifically describe it.
Mm.
And it is, you're just right about it. So the more I hang out with you guys, even I learn how to describe it and identify a particular flavor profile as that particular note.
And
Mhm.
we have
Makes
listeners
sense.
now, Pagoda, that do that with us.
Yeah.
And there's listeners right now who are smoking the Juan López #1 and are telling us we're crazy, and there's others that are totally agreeing with us, and we'll get emails about it, right? So that's the beauty of this whole thing, is being able to smoke with others in the room or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it's great.
Absolutely.
Outside of the relaxation component of smoking, this is my favorite part. Is talking about what you're smelling, what you're tasting, how things feel, and just giving especially, you're paying $22, $50, $60, $100, $150. If, now we're getting to the point where cigars are in the few $100s per stick. I mean, what
Mm.
can we do to extend the experience?
Correct.
Right. So this is just one of those exercises that I think makes it a complete activity for me anyway. Yeah, and I love your call out, Brander, on the horseradish. Because
Yeah.
last week I mentioned, or 2 weeks ago, I mentioned radish in a cigar, and it
Mhm.
just, it kind of brings that sort of pungent, astringent note to the nose there.
This is
Nasal
easily one of
cavity.
the best jail ones I've had in a long time.
Yeah, this is
No,
really
this
good.
is fantastic.
Nicely kept.
It's a shame we have fellow lizards that don't like it.
I know.
Yeah. I
Well,
wish-
they're missing out on a good experience.
More for
I think.
us.
yes,
So-
I think Senator. I'm going to give Senator one of these. He's not been a fan of Juan Lopez for
Mhm.
quite some time.
Puba as well.
Yeah, I'm going to give Senator and Puba one of these out of this exact box to smoke because I think that it's going to change
Their perspective.
their perspective on the Marca. Because I came in very positive tonight. I was my expectation was this was going to be very good.
Mhm.
You know, I don't actually remember. I don't have a memory of when we smoked this 3 years ago. I haven't smoked one since.
I was going to ask you. So you haven't had one of these since that last recording?
No.
You're crazy.
No.
I can't live
I
without
had
this.
that box and I just didn't crack it.
Wow.
It worked out.
I'll reach for one of these every few months. I can't say that it cracks my weekly or even monthly rotation, but when I do, I'm blown away
See,
by
but
it.
this cigar that we're smoking tonight is making me rethink that.
Oh, yeah.
No, but do you get a similar flavor profile?
I
and
do.
do you get the same experience?
I do.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that means these are consistent.
They're pretty consistent. I haven't had a plugged one yet, but I think some people have had that experience. But I got a little more than a box and a half of these. I'm gonna let them sit a little longer because I think the ones you have are aged longer than these. See what they're like.
Well, this is a 2022 box.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
September 22.
I'm not sure what mine are. I think I have a 22 right here. But these are all, I think, fantastic.
And these do have a great potential to age. Because I have like an older box, and it is
Of course,
it
you
is
do.
awesome. It is fantastic.
From 1910.
He has an original release
He
from
came-
1876.
Without
He
the
opened the
bands.
factory with the guy.
he got it at the present when Juan López sold it to Gutierrez.
came here from India with the box.
He actually brokered the sale.
I'll never mention it again.
Is anyone getting? This is going to be out of this world, probably, which is not surprising. Jasmine on the retro.
Jasmine.
If you like jasmine green tea,
Yeah, I mean, I do get a lot of tea notes in a lot of cigars.
I think that's going back to the floral notes that Pagoda was pulling
Probably.
earlier. Yeah, I'm not getting jasmine per se, but yeah, I'm
So
getting some
not
floral
the
here.
jasmine flower.
yeah.
Flower?
Yeah.
Like jasmine flower?
Well, like I don't know. Well, I don't know actually. Like when I
Have
get
you
jasmine
sm-
green tea, that's what I'm
Okay.
thinking of.
'Cause jasmine
a
flower has a
flower.
very distinct smell,
Yeah.
aroma. It only blooms at night. It's like small little white flowers.
Oh,
I
really?
think Pagoda would know what
Oh,
I'm
the
talking
Rat
about.
Kirani?
Rat
Oh my lord, those are really. That's a very strong. Yeah.
Were you guys picking jasmine as kids, running around the fields at night?
We had them growing in our yard.
Yeah. So
Wow.
at the entrance of my house on both sides
Right.
we had it.
That's cool.
And it,
It would-
smelled at night.
It would
Beautiful.
only bloom at night.
Nice.
Are
So
you serious?
Yeah.
So when you come home, kind of late at night, it's like a waft of like jasmine.
How luxurious.
Well,
Did you guys live on like an estate?
I didn't know.
A resort. They lived on a resort.
Memories of Jasmine.
I didn't know it was called jasmine. Now I know.
Jasmine.
I'm just having these visuals of like pouncing Indians hidden flowers. You know,
Yeah.
just like Pagoda and Rooster out there. And
That's we got to mark that down for the year in review.
Oh, yeah.
Dancing Indian. What'd you say?
pouncing
Pouncing.
Indian hidden flowers. You know,
Pouncing.
it's like pouncing tiger, crouching tiger, hidden dragon, whatever
Mm-hmm.
the hell that movie was. But yeah, that's
No, it had a very distinct flavor. Not
It
flavor,
does.
very
Yeah.
distinct smell. Jasmine. Then oh wow.
it is an aroma I enjoy. But yeah, you're right. It is pretty strong.
So not jasmine.
No, I think it can be, but obviously in tea it's dried and all of that, so a lot of that flavor dissipates and kind of mellows out. So it could be, but
So, boys, let's talk about our pairing tonight. We are back to tequila. We had a great tequila 2 weeks ago, the Valon's Tequila Blanco. Tonight, we have the Mijenta Tequila Blanco. We had this in the queue as well. Wanted to do something light alongside the JL1. So let's try this tequila and see how it pairs
Cheers.
with the Cuban cigar. Cheers, boys.
cheers. Salute.
Even before I taste it, I can just taste butter.
Yeah, I
It's-
smell butter.
It's like
yeah,
creamy
I
butter.
actually, on the nose, it's salty, briny,
Yep.
like
yeah, buttery.
the
Yep.
ocean,
Mhm.
and a beautiful butteriness on the palate. This is exquisite.
That's really good.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's tasty and refreshing.
Oh, it's so easy to
It's
drink.
it's so bright.
Yes.
Has a refreshing quality to it.
Oh, you're gonna have to pass that bottle.
Wow. Yeah, I think
That's
gonna
a really good
yeah,
tequila.
we're
you know,
gonna kill that.
my immediate reaction is slightly better than Volant.
We're gonna kill that bottle.
I shouldn't say it.
I don't know if I'd say it's slightly better
different.
than Volant's. It's a different.
It's
Yeah,
different.
it's
a
more
different type of
brighter and
expression.
more. Yeah. No.
But I'll be honest, I'm really liking how it's pairing with this cigar right now.
Outstanding.
It's excellent.
I bet it's complementing the citrus notes of the cigar.
Yeah, I don't get much citrus on the cigar, but it does complement the sweeter notes of the cigar because I'm getting a sweet finish on the tequila.
Oh, by the way, Rooster, here. Why don't you take a sniff?
I also think while Rooster's sniffing the glass, I think that the saltiness of the tequila, that brininess of
It's
it,
given the smoke structure.
it's making the
for me.
cigar pop. Like a lot
Yeah.
of those flavors we're talking about are just like
Yeah.
really highlighted.
Gives it structure.
I get floral notes out of the tequila when you sniff it.
Yeah, you're not wrong. So this tequila has a maestra versus a maestro. This is the master distiller here is a woman. She oversees the brand here. Her name is Ana Maria Romero Mena. So the background here, Ana Maria Romero Mena is a distinguished maestra tequilera from Mexico, renowned for her expertise in tequila craftsmanship and sensory evaluation. She began her career in the wine industry, studying business administration at the University of the Americas and specializing in sensory evaluation at UC Davis.
Sensory evaluation was her
Holy
major.
I know what that is.
In California.
So this is
Do
great.
do explain.
So this is great because we'll get to
How do you graduate?
What's like the final exam like?
I think Bam Bam's the proctor in that class.
Professor Bam.
Yeah, so she identified over 600 unique scents, culminating in the creation of an aroma wheel. So this woman's credited with creating the aroma wheel that's become an industry standard.
Wow.
The Aromas of Tequila, which is a book she published in 2007, is a comprehensive guide that delves into the sensory notes of tequila and their development over time. She's served on plenty of advisory boards for institutions like the Tequila Regulatory Council, or the TRC, CRT in Spanish, and the National Chamber of the Tequila Industry, contributing significantly to the evaluation of tequila's global image. She's helped with other brands. I think on our last pod, we mentioned Vocal de Mi Tierra. She's helped those guys out with developing their aromas and flavor profiles and marketing. And yeah, she's behind Mijenta here, and I think this is a genius way, the way she develops her flavors, her aromas. She's using a low pressure autoclave, stainless steel tanks for fermentation without fibers, so you'll get a much cleaner, almost purer, more feminine nose and on the palate. Whereas I think with some other tequilas that use copper pot stills and either concrete or wooden fermentation tanks, there's a lot of petrichor present. Since Grinder's here.
That's awesome.
So, this is just a lot more, as some would say, maybe cleaner.
I will say
and
when
crisper.
I was pouring it, we talked about this with the Volans. When I was pouring it, it was as if I was pouring water.
Yeah.
This is not a
That's
very
extraordinarily clean.
viscous spirit. It's
No.
very pure.
Similar to the Volans, not much
Yeah,
legs on it, but
similar.
very, very easy to drink.
And like the Volans, although it didn't have much viscosity, the butteriness
Sure.
on the nose was it's
So
it's very
that's what
prominent.
was so perplexing about that tequila. Regardless of the fact that it wasn't so viscous, it was very buttery and creamy. We're kind of getting that today too.
Yeah. This isn't as buttery, but yeah,
No,
it's definitely
no.
yeah.
I like that it's divergent from
Yeah,
Volans. Like
yeah.
I could see two different applications for
Mhm.
those two tequilas. Like
This is incredible.
this is really good stuff as well.
And how much is this bottle?
$50.
Oh, come
Another
on. now.
$50.
Another $50 one.
What
So
a
that
steal.
Break
honestly,
my bank again.
this is
Steal.
why I wanted to do them back.
Come on, Pagoda. You wouldn't get a bottle of these?
I would, I
Oh,
would.
yeah.
This is why I wanted to do them back to back on the Cuban episodes. I know that we've had some folks saying, "Why are you going so deep into agave?" Because at the For the Love of Agave event, the two standout Blancos that we tasted, I guess that was sometime in the summer, late summer, was the Volans and the Mijenta. So that's why I wanted to piggyback these two, and then we'll take a break from tequila for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then
Great
we'll come
choice
back.
tonight.
It's a good one.
Yeah. Did you get this when you picked up the volants?
I did. I bought them at the
Nice.
same time. Yeah.
Very nice. So I've had all the expressions. I think they're up to an extra añejo now. I'm not too sure because it's been a minute. But the Blanco is one of my favorites. And then I might be getting it confused with Volans, but I think they also have a high proof Blanco that's delicious. But if not, it's Volans that does.
What's funny is, I still get the raisin and plum in this cigar, but when I take a sip and then a draw, it gets to a buttery note, but almost like
Yeah.
a berry, a raspberry type of experience when I
Yep.
have the two together.
Especially on the retro hill.
Yeah, one right after the other. What an excellent pairing.
Worked out good.
I'm getting like a buttery croissant, like almost a bready note
On this, right?
Mhm.
on the cigar.
On the JL1, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of complexity, a lot of layers, just
Oh,
like
boys.
a croissant.
And I just like how clear they all are.
I think we fucked up that original rating.
Well, that's why we're back.
What do you
And also-
think? What do you think would happen there?
No, I think that it was a different run of the cigar. It's a 3-year difference in the run. I mean, the recent stuff has been performing brilliantly.
Ready to
So-
smoke?
Yeah, ready to smoke. I've had them for quite some time. I don't remember what the humidity situation was. I don't think we were as keen on humidity 3 years ago. I
No
don't think
kitty
we were-
litter yet.
We weren't dialed in yet.
Mhm.
No kitty litter yet.
This is perfectly kept because this
It's
only
perfectly-
a perfectly kept cigar could have this kind of burn.
Yeah, it's not spongy at all. It's nicely firm, right? But not too firm.
I'm going to clip that and send that to Senator tomorrow.
Do it tonight
I will.
at 2 a.m.
I don't know if you guys peeped this bottle, but I think the bottle here is really attractive. It has this beautiful pale purplish lavender
It's a gorgeous label.
label, and then the top of the cap here that's also glass.
Mhm.
There's a rabbit, so that's a reference to the 400 conejos, or Mayahuel's children. Mayahuel is the Mexican deity for agave, right?
Ah.
So that's
It's
just
not
really
pechuga?
kinda cool.
Much sugar.
There's a rabbit on the bottom too.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, there's a bigger rabbit on the bottom, so it's almost like going down the rabbit hole.
Going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
We
So
have done
cool.
that.
For a $50 bottle, that's a beautifully elegant product.
It looks good, like sitting on a table. Like
does.
It's a.
I
Nice
remember the
presentation.
rabbit tattoos. Yeah. That's fantastic.
All right, boys, let's go into some listener email. We have a couple to get to tonight. First one here is from Lizard Enrique. He writes us a lot. Always a great email. He says, Happy New Year. Our new puppy woke us up at 5 a.m., so I have already listened to the New Year's Eve episode. It was awesome, and the best of was terrific. It was an incredible way to end the year. And thank you for answering my question about podcast origin. I can't believe there could have been an additional lizard. After a 9-year hiatus from having any cigar, 2024 was my year of rediscovery, and the podcast shortened my learning curve dramatically in terms of trying out cigars and where to even begin tackling new worlds. The Danilo episode is the best thing I've heard so far on cigars in general. That, coupled with so many hilarious moments, it was the best year yet. We hope you and yours have had a happy and prosperous new year. P.S. He sent a picture. He said, one of my Christmas gifts in the wild at our coast house, and he had the Lizard Sippy Cup, our
Cool.
thermos.
Nice.
With the
Very
Lounge
nice.
Lizard logo that he got for Christmas. I thought that was very cool. Here's another one. This one is from Lizard Shawnee Bro. He says, Lizards, as an avid smoker and collector of cigars, I now have somewhere in the neighborhood of 3,000 cigars. That's a lot of cigars. That's awesome. My long-term goal is to buy a steady supply of regular production Cubans like we're smoking tonight so that I have a backlog to smoke for years to follow, which probably means my stash will swell to somewhere around 4,000 to 5,000 cigars. What cabinets do you guys recommend for long-term storage of larger collections? These will be for boxes mostly. And do you guys stick with Boveda for humidification, or do you have an active humidification device? Thanks so much, Lizard Shawnee Bro.
Good email.
Great email.
I definitely prefer my Oasis to Boveda.
Mm-hmm.
No doubt about it.
Especially with that many cigars.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, with that many cigars in
A tower.
a tower, I mean, your Boveda cost every year. It's
but you're also you're
difficult.
also risking the loss of possible cigars if you're just solely relying on a Boveda.
Yeah, and you're not checking them all the time to make sure
Exactly.
they're not drying out.
right.
Especially right now in the United States, here in the Northeast United States, it's very cold and dry.
And dry.
So
yeah.
if you have a Boveda situation in an imperfectly sealed humidor, those things are going to dry out very fast.
So I've been lazy with my Oasis. I just put it in.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, 2 days. All right. Forget it.
So you just put it in 2 days ago.
I'm just trying to impart some knowledge. So if you live in this area, I just recently put my Oasis unit back in, but prior to my readings, they went steadily down from 65 to 62. Now I'm at like 50. I was at 58.
Oh.
Yeah, so I got up late.
You're on the limit.
Yeah. No. I was up late in the morning. I said, I got to get I recharged the whole thing, put it in there, and then.
Wait, but why did you take the unit out? Couldn't you have just left it in?
No, I take it out
and
during
just
the spring
unplug
and
it,
summer.
or
No, because
disconnect it?
in my basement, it's very humid in the summer and spring.
Right.
So my humidity with that Oasis in it, without it running, goes up to 68, 69.
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat.
Easily.
Same boat too. I don't take the Oasis out of my tower. What I do is I empty out the distilled water, and then I have fans at the top that run 24/7 filtering air. So when it's humid, I just take the water out, and they recommend every year you change the water beads.
That's true.
So then when it starts to get a little drier, I put new beads in, I put distilled water in, and that's that. So
right. I mean, me and you have the same exact setup.
exactly.
The same unit, same.
But different basements or
And we-
different
yeah.
locations. I
I think our ambient's a little different, Rooster.
That matters.
I think his is a little bit more naturally humid than mine is.
Ambient humidity in your home, depending on where your tower or wherever you're keeping your cigars, matters. It's going to definitely have an effect.
So let's talk about storage. So we talked about humidification here. His first question, of course, was what do we prefer as far as storing stuff? So I'll start with what Rooster and I have. We have Vigilant Vault 2000s. They make a few different sizes of them. I think ours probably can fit 2,500 to 3,000 cigars if you're being efficient with your space.
Your towers are double wide than the one I have. You have more capacity.
Yeah, we have a double wide.
Yeah.
Bam, which one do you have?
Tower of Power.
You have the Tower of Power, and that's what Pagoda and Senator has as well.
Correct.
Grinder, you have a double wide as well, but is there a brand on it or?
It's called Elegant Bar.
Elegant Bar.
Yeah,
Elegant Bar.
cedar cabinet, 2 big doors. It's about 6.5 feet tall.
It's huge.
I've got 2 different sections. So the bottom is just shelves, flat shelves, and then the top are angled shelves for display purposes. And then in the middle, it bisects the cabinet, and it's just a layer of drawers. So I've got a lot of storage space. I could probably fit maybe 3,500 cigars in there. It's big. Yeah. I have a Boveda. I have like Wi-Fi, Boveda, Bluetooth.
Yeah, that device they have.
Temperature
The butler.
monitors on every level, and across, I have 3 on each level. So I have a lot of Boveda things in there. And I have the Oasis down on the bottom, and then I have a lot of the Boveda packs up at the top.
Nice.
And don't forget the spray bottle.
And the spray bottle distilled.
The misting.
The spritzing. A lot of
I like
spritzing
that
going
better.
on.
The spritzing.
A lot of spritzing going
It's a
on
spritz. It's definitely
at the
a
Grinder house.
I haven't spritzed in probably since you've
3 days.
You've publicly embarrassed me. I was shamed enough into not ever
Listen,
doing that again.
if it helps the cigars,
It's helped, but I also just got more dialed in. On the top level is where I was having troubles.
Yeah.
especially in the wintertime,
Yeah.
if it works, it works.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
I used to spritz a lot, but I just hit it a lot with the Boveda packs, across the shelves, and I have them tucked in between different boxes and stuff, and it works pretty well.
You know what the unfortunate thing is for, Shawnee Bro here or anybody else who's considering getting something is you actually aren't going to really know what your situation's going to be until the tower's there.
Yeah.
You have cigars in it and you go through a year of changing seasons and constantly monitoring and watching. And, you have your Govee devices on Wi-Fi. So you get updates if it's high or low. You got to go through a year of these seasonal changes before you really 100% know.
A more impactful look back for me is I wish I had a bigger tower.
Sure.
The moment I stacked and filled the tower, I realized I didn't have enough room. So now I have 6 huge Tupperdoors on the side, also full of cigars. And that's a pain in the ass because if you want something, you got to unpile and take everything out and to look at what your inventory is. The beauty of a double wide tower like the 2 of you have, you can keep almost everything you have in that tower.
The thing about
Almost.
the thing about the tower that Rooster and I have too, and I'm assuming I'm going to speak for Rooster with this statement, but when I purchased that, it was a little more expensive than what you'd find on Your Elegant Bar. It was more expensive than the one you have.
I got a great deal on mine.
The thing about the one that Rooster and I have is, first off, it's a piece of furniture custom built to our spec by Vigilant, but also it's kind of like the one and done. Like I have no plan to have a bigger tower, have a different tower.
You're
like,
all
I'm done.
set.
I'm
you
done.
guys are both set.
I think it works very well. It looks
Rooster's
great.
not set. He's shaking his head.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I would like a New World Tower and a Cuban Tower.
You're not wrong.
Of course.
That's the way to.
That's
Yeah,
the
get a
ultimate.
second
way to
one
go.
to
He's
match.
not wrong.
Yeah.
But the only thing is, once you get a tower, you want to fill it up. I mean, you end up.
Yeah, so your buying practices ramp up dramatically the moment that thing's in place.
Yeah, but having said that, when we got the towers, cigar prices had not seen this kind of a jump,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the cigar prices were quite a bit more reasonable. So if you get the Juan López boxes at like $250 or right around $200, I mean, we were all in. You know,
We were giddy actually with those prices.
Now at
yeah, but had
550,
we
it's a little tough.
known what the prices would go up,
I
to,
would have mortgaged my house. I would have done something.
Well, let me speak more for the guys that haven't grown up yet, like myself. I have a Wynador. I think the brand is All Due. It holds 250 cigars, 5 levels, 2 drawers, and the rest are kind of like sliding wooden panels with no walls on them. On each level, I have a Wi-Fi Govee. I used to have the Boveda Butlers, but they were only Bluetooth, so they didn't give me any information if I wasn't home. And one day that saved my ass because I left to a friend's house for a holiday, and I grabbed cigars on the way out, and the door didn't close all the way. And I
Ooh.
remember getting the notification while I was at my friend's house saying, showing my humidity going up. And I called my daughter's babysitter. I'm like, I need you to go to my house and close my humidor.
It's an important thing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Very
it took her a couple hours, and I remember just like constantly texting her, like, "Are you there yet? Did you make it? Like this is important." But yeah, so the Wi-Fi thing is critical. And yeah, I'm using Boveda packs. I did dive into the cat litter a little bit because in my previous house, I did have a high.
It's dried, unscented silica.
Yes.
Rogues.
Yes, it's not cat litter like the clay stuff. It's crystal beads.
Yeah.
It's dry, unscented
Yes.
silica.
Which
which
holds
did-
humidity and creates a consistent environment.
And
That's
it did.
what it does.
It did help dry out my situation a little bit. So what I didn't know, and
I got to back up. I got to back the kid up, man.
The kid. Yeah, okay. Thanks, man.
Well, what I didn't know, and I learned going through some Reddit posts, is that in some of these Wynadors, they were wine fridges or repurposed wine fridges. So oftentimes they have drip pans, or they had drip pans, which they no longer do, but they still sometimes have the hole. Right. So
Ah,
if
so
that
there was
hole is
leakage
not
there.
properly sealed, then it's letting in humidity or letting out humidity, depending on the time of the year. So the first thing I did was seal that hole, and that helped. And then the cat litter helped me. The crystals helped me dry things
silica
out a little
beads,
bit.
Ricky. Come on.
Dried.
And I'll be
Silica.
my favorite thing about the silica beads was that it was just a matter of microwaving them to dry them out. You know, you didn't really have to keep buying something new. You could have continued using that.
Yeah, you recharge it with water.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or
Distilled.
or dry it out. I think I'd like to upgrade to a tower at some point. Right now I'm okay with this and a few Tupper doors that I have with cedar drawers in them. But for now, this is
Can you fit boxes on the bottom shelves of yours? Or
I could fit boxes, but not many. I kind of have to choose. I could put a box, or I could put loose sticks. I can't put box and sticks.
Did he mention in his email that he has a tower?
I hope so. At 3,000 sticks, I'm surprised. I'd be surprised if he doesn't.
So where's he keeping them now?
Yeah.
And how's he keeping them?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Shawnee Bro has a tower now or if everything's in
Okay.
Tupperware. I mean, listen, the Tupperware solution is a great solution for cigar storage. The problem is it's just a pain in the ass and it doesn't look great. So
Yeah.
there's no knock on anyone
No.
using Tupperware.
No,
If you
no.
have a nice closet, you could put it in, get it out of the eye, out of view.
Mhm.
The benefit of getting a nice tower is it turns into a piece of furniture and you can display your collection and you can stand there in front of it and say, what do I want to smoke right now?
Exactly.
Open the door and pick
Yeah.
it out. As
That's
opposed to
ideal.
Tupperware, you're like ripping through it.
Yeah,
Like,
that's ideal.
I-
So
you know.
honestly, the ideal scenario to store your cigars is to have a tower that's large enough to hold everything you have that you can visually see before you go out for a night.
Yeah.
I'm laughing
and
at
stand
that.
in front of it whenever you want to.
And gaze at your collection,
I'm laughing at
which I do a lot.
I'm laughing at the get it out of sight. I got my tower in 2017 after I had moved in with my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, and she got tired of seeing, we had an extra bedroom and it was half full of Tupperware. And she's like, you can't, this isn't going to work if we're going to live together. So I just went out and bought a nice piece of furniture, as you said, and it's worked great.
You're the first guy that I think in this group that has a tower.
yeah, he was
Yeah.
the first one.
Yeah,
By
that's cool.
by a long shot.
Oh,
Probably
yeah.
by 5 years.
Years.
So
Yeah, yeah.
4 years.
2017,
Yeah.
I got my first tower.
Look at
So
you.
the other thing I want to say too, piggybacking on Ricky's story, was that when I was in Cuba a year ago in January, I got a notification through my Wi-Fi Govee devices that my humidity was dropping like crazy. So then I had my stepson go down and I discovered that I didn't check before I left. It was completely out of distilled water. So I walked him through on text from Cuba, filling it up. So those Wi-Fi devices are really great because no matter
lifesavers.
where you are in the world, you go away on business, on vacation, or whatever it is, you have a problem. And like
That's
Ricky
awesome.
did and like I did, you send someone in to
Yep.
solve it.
And
That's
if
really
you're,
good to know,
If
yeah.
you're in the minority, because although here we all have lockers and we have a home lounge, I don't think any of us actually store cigars there.
No.
Never.
But
my
if
liquor locker.
you're one of those that actually do, then I recommend a Wi-Fi hygrometer, so that way you could see how how the ambient humidity is being maintained in your locker.
So that's a question I have for all of you. We've all belonged to multiple clubs, still do, or have, and will be. Have any of you ever kept cigars at any long term or short term in any of your lockers at your places?
Firstly, I just want to clarify: there's only one person over here who belongs to multiple.
That's not
clubs.
true. That's not true.
That is true.
Is it?
Espinals.
That is true.
Okay. Well, okay.
So why don't you answer?
Answer your own question, Bam. Go ahead.
So
He threw the T-ball up to himself.
Hey, come on.
that's not true. You belong here. So I don't keep cigars at any of my clubs. I just don't trust the level of humidity in the lockers. Just
Yeah, I don't trust
blank.
anybody to take care of my cigars
absolutely
except myself.
not.
That's
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
And if you do, it's probably best to put them in a Tupperware, because
That's
way
true.
you get to control it yourself.
Or if you're going to leave cigars at your lounge, I would recommend putting an appropriate Boveda in a small Tupperware fiddle fit, or even sorry, Bam, a Ziploc bag that'll keep those cigars well in your locker.
So-
I mean, that's the better way to do it.
The Ziploc in the locker, very appropriate.
Oh, you're okay with that?
Not sitting among the membership with a bag next to you. That's awful. All right.
I feel like there's some personal.
He's on a he's got a vendetta.
He's got a lot. He's got a lot of
2025
faux pas.
vendetta.
I
You
got
a
that's
lot-
a faux pas.
You
man.
got a lot of faux pas.
Correct.
I used to keep cigars in our humidor locker at
The
our
former
former
lounge?
lounge.
Yeah.
I think we all did.
Yeah, we all did, just because
It was
it was
easier.
very convenient and it wasn't bad, but there were times where it just got a little too wet.
Mm-hmm.
I think at that time at least I didn't have a tower at that time. So most of the cigars that I had were either kept at home in two big humidors that were like desktop humidors, or at the lounge.
So it's interesting. At that time, I didn't have a pouch that I could bring my cigars from wherever I went. So I did keep my cigars at that particular lounge. That's true. But once I purchased the proper cigar pouch, I stopped doing it. I just didn't trust it.
Yeah, I've never
Yeah.
kept cigars anywhere
Yeah.
other than my
Yeah.
own setup.
Smart.
I don't think I cared as much as I do now, frankly. I think it was just there was some trust in the proprietor to keep it stable, and usually it was. So I didn't really complain. I was just
It's a
happy
part
to
of the
sit down and
journey.
smoke cigars.
I think
Correct.
also too,
Correct.
we're smoking a Cuban. We're talking about Cuban cigars tonight.
Yeah.
Obviously, in this conversation, we're talking about everything, but Cuban cigars are far more sensitive to higher humidity, fluctuations, et cetera, as how they're going to perform versus New Worlds. I think I've made it very clear personally that I like my New Worlds even lower than I think anybody in the room probably,
That's
but
true.
for Cuban cigars, I don't think it's possible to successfully store that in a lounge situation. But New Worlds, I think you can probably get away with it.
Yeah.
So, boys, we're past the halfway point now on the Juan López Selección #1. What's everybody thinking?
Outstanding experience.
So good.
Yeah.
Loving the retro here.
I found there to be a little change.
It's gotten maybe slight peppery for me on the retro, a bit more, but still very smooth and creamy. Definitely the raisin and plum that's dissipated, but
The citrus is gone for me as well.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's very savory.
Savory.
Yeah, that's
The-
where it's pivoted to.
I can't put my finger on it. It's not like this garlicky savoriness, but it's more of a earthiness. But
Mineral.
yeah, but
salt.
in a good way, because that could go bad really fast.
It's gotten a little saltier. I think that
That's probably what it is. But
the
it's still very
Yeah,
velvety.
that
though.
Cuban twang has kind of is
Coming
coming
through.
through now,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's picked up a little bit, and it's like a tad in strength.
the retro's delicious.
I find it to have gotten less sweet as you all have, a little bit drier, but still very pleasant. The smoke output has also sort of lowered a little bit for me.
So you were a bit concerned when you cut the cigar. You felt the cigar like it would be tight, like the draw wasn't that open.
It wasn't.
Right
and
as you lit it,
it opened up a little bit, but it's still not a very.
it's not a very
open
very
draw.
open draw.
But
Yeah.
it's
I
been
I
great.
kind
It's
of
been
like that. I don't like a very very
too.
open
Yeah.
draw.
Same.
I like a little bit of resistance.
Yeah.
I find what it encourages is because the draw is a little bit tight, your cigar doesn't heat up as much, so you get a lot of milder, sweeter notes that linger a
That's a
lot
great point.
more. But it could be frustrating sometimes if that combustion isn't happening.
Thankfully, with the draw that we're talking about, I would argue slightly resistant right across the board. Maybe Ricky's a little more.
Mhm.
The combustion's amazing.
I agree.
Combustion
A
amazing.
lot of smoke.
No complaint.
The burn line is
Still beautiful.
beautiful.
And I tell you, I need to upgrade my cutter. My cutter is definitely a little dull. Like I feel like some of the draw issue is the cutter's
It got
fault
pinched.
in that it's got compacted through the cutting motion.
We're all kind of at the same point. I think Chef's smoking the slowest.
Hmm.
I don't think it's by choice.
It's a merit, though. No, that's definitely a merit.
So, boys,
Hmm.
we have a voice memo
Uh-oh.
Nice.
from one of our listeners.
Dum dum dum.
So this is from Lizard Seagull, who writes us a lot, sent us his first voice memo. So let's play that right now.
Good morning, lizards. As always, I love the latest, especially the data drop. Interesting. Do you guys snack as you drink, smoke? I don't like to drink on an empty stomach, so I usually snack on something. What are your thoughts? Thank you.
Good question.
You know, this
Pet
this, thi-
peeve.
this couldn't be more perfect.
That's why I brought this voice memo in tonight.
It's a great question.
This
It
could
worked out perfect.
But yeah, I mean, we have cookies that my awesome wife provided us with by
Delicious.
chance.
Love them. Love them.
Big dessert guy.
Oh,
Yeah. And yeah, I mean it. And none of us are eating them right now, but I think if we did at this very point, with the salt we're getting, the buttery notes in the tequila, the light chocolate, the baking spice, I think it'll be a home run.
Why not try it?
I'm not a pastry guy while I smoke,
Oh, I am not either.
Yeah.
I don't like eating at all when I smoke. Actually,
except for one. I
Yeah.
will do a chocolate
Okay.
from time to time. Like you used to do the Bouchards. They make fun of you. I love those things.
Yeah, they were very good.
Dried fruit.
And that dry fruit platter that
The
we
nut
got,
and fruit platter that we
Dude,
got from Harry
yeah.
and David from Lizard
after
Luigi.
that
Yeah.
recording, we went into the club and we all snacked on that while we were smoking and drinking. It was fabulous.
I actually really love cashews
Yeah,
with
anything,
cigar and
any
coffee.
small, tiny little snack that you can get in. Not a big pastry or a sandwich, but a little piece of chocolate, a little almond or something. Perfect.
I'm a
For
little
me.
different. I'm a little different than Grinder. I actually really enjoy, and I'll plan it out. Like if we're gonna come here and order something out, if I'm gonna get a piece of meat like a fillet or a
Oh,
ribeye,
well, that's a different.
with-
Now you're talking dinner.
well, if snacking or
that's
eating
different.
while smoking. Like I'll pull. My favorite thing is to have a glass of red wine, like
Yep.
Oberon, a filet mignon,
Yep,
some broccolini on the side,
and a cigar.
and a Monte Cristo number 2.
Look, dude.
I'm sorry. Is that a snack or
That's a meal.
Yeah, but,
so
but then
it's
what about
different.
the hour and a
was-
half before the meal, before the smoke? It's kind of really just.
Well, I'm taking a
it's very
shower at that point, getting ready for
He's
my night out,
napping.
and I'm taking a
He's
nap.
doing his vocal exercises.
Isn't it very contradictory? That's all I'm saying.
What is?
You mentioned that you like to eat about an hour and a half, and it's a pet peeve of yours.
This is true. But if we go out to a dinner and it's a steak dinner, I love smoking during dinner.
I do too.
And I keep it lit the entire time. That's really the only. But if I'm in a club, though, I won't have a meal. I won't eat anything here. But when I'm out to dinner at a place where I can smoke and have a delicious steak, 100%.
And I think we also have to disconnect too. Like you coming to this recording tonight, you're preparing to give your opinion on flavor notes, everything else. So I think that I understand your line of thinking there. Like no eating before,
no
'cause you
smoking
wanna,
before.
You want to have a clean palate to offer the listeners the most. Right?
That's how I feel. Honestly, I don't even like smoking before the recording. I think I've done it once out of 100. How many episodes now?
168.
Correct. Maybe once or twice. I try not to do that because for me, I'm sensitive. Like my mouth will go numb after 3 or 4 cigars sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather not do that before a recording.
But when we're not recording, sitting down for a steak.
Oh yeah, dude.
But so if we want to be very specific to Lizard Seagull's question here, none of us have ever snacked while recording.
Never.
Ever. When we're smoking or drinking. None of us have ever had any food between hitting record and hitting stop record. We've never had any snacks here.
I think that might alter some of the flavor notes
it
that
definitely
you get out
would.
of the cigar.
Absolutely.
And since we're recording a pod, I don't think it's appropriate for us to do that.
I
but
agree.
in a casual setting, I think it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Point noted.
Yep.
You can snack on a
Well
filet.
done.
Snack on a filet mignon.
Snack on some bolognese.
But I can tell you one thing: those cookies were delicious,
Yeah, the cookies are great.
and it was well worth it to have snacked right before.
So I have another one for you, boys. This one's from Lizard John from Boise. He writes this all the time. Always a great question. And I think this one is as well. He says, "Hi, Giz. Quick question for the guys. When you and the boys refer to purging a cigar, can you please describe what that entails? Are you recutting one or both ends? Is it just a relight? Thanks so much, Lizard John from Boise."
That's an easy one. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Very, very simple.
very simple.
You have a cigar, and for whatever reason, sometimes it's good to purge. And purging a cigar basically just means blowing some smoke through the cigar,
The other way.
the other way,
So at the head of the cigar, you're blowing air through it
through it.
to purge the foot.
Instead
Right.
of drawing on it, you're pushing it out.
Correct.
So instead of blowing in, you're blowing out.
Exactly.
I mean, you might be getting some nicotine or something like that's going to clear
And ideally,
the cigar out.
you do that right after you light before you take a draw.
That's what I do every time.
Same.
So what I do when I toast my cigar is I toast the foot until it's, red, but I'm not hitting the edge.
Mhm.
I'm just toasting the end of the cigar very delicately. The first thing I do is I always push the smoke out. Then I begin to actually light the cigar and begin drawing on it. So
Very
I do
good.
that every single cigar I smoke going on
New World
3
or
or 4
Cuban,
years.
regardless.
Everything.
New World and Cubans, all
Everything.
It's
I
across
the
purge
board.
all the time.
Excellent practice.
So to dig a little deeper, what I find with what Rooster just said here is that sometimes if you're getting a little tar blast or something's not feeling right, if you purge and it doesn't fix it, that might be the time that you want to do an additional small cut to try to eliminate any of that on the remaining head of the cigar that's
The
building
buildup,
up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be pulling it too hard. You might have a little too much saliva on the cigar.
The
so
opening
just trim it.
may be a bit tight, so you open that up a little bit more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then if that doesn't work, after lighting, that's when I'll pull out the perfect draw and just do a little bit of work, see what happens, and then, progress from there.
My other favorite time to purge is when you're taking it down to the nub
Mhm.
and you're getting
Oh,
really
yeah.
close and the
Good
cigar
point.
is heating up and the flavor is getting kind of really aggressive and peppery. It's usually a good reset to just go with a good 3-second push and purge that all out, and then you could normally get back to some of those milder, cleaner flavors, if you will.
I also think, too, for listeners out there who like to put their cigar down, let it go out, and then relight it. I think that arguably might be the
Absolutely.
most important time for a cigar smoker to purge. Get all that old smoke out once you start to relight, so you're not taking that in and affecting that initial flavor from the relight.
Especially if you're resting your cigar in an ashtray that's loaded with ash, because maybe you're having a 3 or 4 cigar session or something like that.
So I try not to ever do that. If I have a flat top glass like this, and if it's long enough for me to put it on a glass and not in an ashtray full of ash, I'll do that.
And that's where the cigar rest come into play.
Cigar
Exactly
rest is a
right.
good-
If you
good
have
tool.
that, then you're set. Yeah. I also try not to let the cigar go out.
I do too, but sometimes it's inevitable.
That's
You-
true.
You get in a conversation,
Especially if
you get a
you're at
work
home,
call,
you're working.
Yeah.
Yep,
the kids need something.
Yep.
You know, it happens, but you gotta purge before you relight.
You know, it's amazing how important a cigar rest is.
It
Yes.
I think every single cigar smoker should have one.
that's
I
his
agree.
that's his pet peeve. See that?
I think it's a key accessory to own.
I agree.
You know, with a cigar cutter, a lighter, and a cigar rest, and obviously a plastic bag.
It's
a
unfortunate.
carrying case. Sorry.
I refuse to get one until I could get a lounge lizard one. So I'm just,
Yeah. You came late to the party.
I know.
Well, you're still on the
Me-
PIP.
me
according
too.
to Bam.
You are in a pip right now.
You're on a PIP.
You're under review.
What's the? It's a
Rooster-
trial period.
Correct.
Yeah.
When you're gonna get one for him, I'm more than happy to get one too.
You
Yeah,
already
'cause-
got, you already got one.
Don't forget, Pagoda lost his on
Everybody
the New
gets
Jersey
one.
Transit.
Oh, that's right.
I thought it's one annually.
For him.
Pagoda looked genuinely surprised when he's like, "You already had one."
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Oh, that sucks.
I love my lounge lizards.
Me too.
We were gonna put, for the listener out there, we were gonna put them up in the merch store, but the per unit cost was just too prohibitive. So once we find a vendor that can put them together for us at the quality we like and the price we like, we will share them with the world. All right, boys, it's time now to do our Lizard of the Week. Our Lizard of the Week this week is Lizard Nicholas, and he sends us an email with the subject line, First Purchase Advice. Hi, Giz. First of all, another Lance, he cuts himself off, another Lancero, boys. Not nice. He says, sorry.
That's fine.
I mean, I want to thank you for all the hard work you put into the pod. I've been listening since the middle of 2024, I think, but time flies when you're having fun. And I've almost completed every episode. Seeing each of you evolve in the hobby across the episodes has helped me organize my own palate and how I review my own cigars. And that is exactly
cool.
what you were talking about earlier, as we were all talking about taking notes,
Yes.
thinking very intently about the
Yes.
notes you're getting. Obviously,
Correct.
we do that on the pod. We have microphones in front of our face, and we're
Mhm.
trying to deliver a consistent program every week. But it's a good thing for every
Yeah.
lizard to do, because that's how you
Especially-
develop a palate.
Especially when you're starting out and you've got maybe 5 boxes and that's it. Study those cigars. Smoke them often. Take notes.
Go back to his point. He started listening mid 2024.
He didn't even hear the BAM Accountability Hour potentially.
No. What I
So
mean
he is
how
definitely
many-
Lizard of the Week.
What I mean is how many episodes he has listened to within that short period.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a lot.
crazy.
Yeah,
We're
it's
talking about
amazing.
180 days, and maybe he's listened to 150 plus.
That's
amazing.
hardcore.
That's one almost every day.
Hardcore.
incredible.
Hardcore.
That's a good
Great
point there,
point.
Rooster.
Love it.
Well, we love that. And we love hearing from listeners who go
Thank
back
you.
through the catalog. That's pretty amazing. Good
Mm.
point, Rooster. So he continues, I think I'm finally ready to make my first ever order of Cuban cigars. Don't get me wrong, I'm perfectly happy with all the New Worlds readily available here in the US, but listening to the pod has really made me want to try Cubans. In New Worlds, I tend to err on the fuller side, but I do have a taste for milder sticks as well. Some of my favorite go-tos are the Late Hour and Churchill, the Room 101 Farce Broadleaf, the Alec Bradley Prensado, the Padron 1926 series, Dunbarton Red Meat Lovers, Liga 9, Hemingway series,
Wow.
E Picarillo, and the Ashton Classic are some of the ones he lists here. As many of us in the mid-20s cohort, he's saying of his age, I am on a fairly limited budget. With that in mind, I was thinking about going for a box of Partagas shorts. The price on I Havana seemed reasonable at $315.
Nice.
So what do we think
Smart.
about that?
That's a smart move. It's a good start.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for a good Cuban experience, I think listening to any of the short smoke specials we did, and each of those we do a Cuban and a New World. I think before you make a decision, which he's obviously saying he's listened to a bunch of them, I would listen to all of those for any listener out there and find the one that most aligns with your palate. Look at the ratings, listen to it, and try something. I think a $315 box of Partagas shorts is a pretty low risk buy.
Agreed.
It's a great
Well-
cigar, and what's nice about that, as a small format cigar is it's actually kind of closest maybe to the Big Brother cigars in Partagas. It's very close in flavor profile.
The DNA is consistent.
The DNA is consistent.
That's
and you
true.
can't always say that about a small cigar.
That's
I think
right.
the other one that I would recommend, considering what he's currently smoking, like he likes a fuller, a lot of flavor out of a cigar. So maybe the Bolivar
Petite
Petite
Corona.
Corona.
Oh, that's a good one.
Very good one.
And the
You know,
Ramon, the small
Ramon
club
Club
Corona.
Corona.
is-
That's delicious.
That's a
Yeah.
good one too.
So I
And
think
the H
that's-
up and half Corona. The reason
Correct.
why I bring that one up, to your point, the ones you mentioned are a little more full rooster. But
Mhm.
what I like about the H up and half Corona, especially if you're smoking a lot of New Worlds, I think that is a perfect finisher, like dessert stick,
Sure.
and gives you that really great Cuban flavor. It doesn't interfere with what you got from the New Worlds, but that's another good one too.
It's true.
Love it.
The Partagas short is a step up though
I agree.
in body.
Yeah.
So I think he'll gravitate to that.
I think any of the three
And-
he just
Yeah,
listed.
and that Boli Petite Corona is great. It's great.
Just stay away from Fonsecas. That was my first Cuban.
So he says here, he says, also, I have an interesting question for the group. You guys recently did your desert island cigar, so I want to hear the inverse desert island cigar. Rather than picking the perfect desert island stick, you would pick the cigar that you would enjoy the most that the other lizards would not be tempted to steal from you because they wouldn't want it.
Hmm.
In other words, what sticks do each of you enjoy that the others do not? Thanks in advance for your advice, Lizard Nicholas.
Rocky Patel.
Well, the JL1. What we're
JL1,
smoking
but I
tonight.
would steal that from you.
You probably would. Bastard.
It's a hard question.
Yeah, it is.
That is a hard
That is a very hard question.
Like, what are some outlier cigars that you enjoy that the rest of the group
We
doesn't?
kind of all
I'll
like,
be honest. I think Grinder might have some of the easier choices here because I think his palate is a little divergent than some of ours.
very.
I think probably that Monte Cristo New World white label.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just-
You can keep that.
Yeah, you're safe on that one.
Yeah. It's just so mild. It's so mild. It's very common. It's like it's the cigar you see in the gas station, but I like it.
I know Rooster would never touch the ALR. He'd rather cook that in a fire. than
Yeah,
smoke it.
I don't like ALR though.
Neither
think-
do I.
I think I could smoke a Plasencia Alma Fuerte hexagon here and no one would even.
Yeah, nobody would steal
I
that.
don't mind
for it.
that cigar.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. It's not that
Have,
bad.
have you realized that
I don't
we'll,
either. Yeah.
we'll gravitate towards New Worlds regardless?
This is
Right.
true.
the Las Calaveras.
I
But you don't
Nobody-
like that cigar.
nobody's
That's-
touching
You
it.
don't
Henry.
like that cigar.
Speaking of-
Little
I-
Henry.
I have to like it.
Yes.
Poor Henrito.
What's a cigar you like that the rest of the group doesn't really like?
That's a
You know
tough
what
one.
I like? I like the forget that. Is it the M81?
Oh, the Metallica?
The
cigar.
black-
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
The
black-
I like
I do
that.
like
That was
but then a lot of
that was
you know,
that was delicious.
Yeah.
That scored above a 7 here on the.
Tough question. Tough question. What do I like that you bastards don't like?
I think one that I like that the group didn't really enjoy. I'm curious if this is one. And actually, Pagoda, this is a Cuban. I really enjoy the Monte Cristo #1.
Monte. Yeah.
I
not-
like the
not a
Monte Cristo
fan.
#1. So
Not a
most
fan.
of the guys in the room
That's a good
don't
good
love
one.
that cigar. I think that's one I could
That's a
get
good
away
one.
with
Yeah.
not having stolen from me.
I know some of you guys don't like the Port Laranaga, the Petite Corona. I
I'll
think
do-
Bam does.
I eat that.
yeah.
It's like a snack for me.
That's a snack.
I love that cigar.
Right before he smoked a big one.
And
Correct. It's like a graham cracker.
But not
that thing.
everyone does.
No, that's true.
I don't love that cigar.
That's
See?
true. You're
Yeah, I
nuts,
don't
but
love that
that's true.
cigar.
Good point. That's a good one.
Well,
The
it's-
other, one,
there's
the other
the-
one too that I'm going to throw out there because I got a lot of shit for it, and I wish Senator was here to hear this.
Cohiba.
The Partagas P2 is one that I know
Oh.
at least Senator wouldn't steal, and the rest of the room said that the E2 was a better cigar
Well,
versus the P2.
I
But
was
we like
smoking
the
it-
P2.
you had a
so-
P2 earlier tonight.
if it had
so
age on it, he'll take it right from you.
that's true.
I was gonna say a year ago nobody would have touched your Cohiba.
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
If we had this conversation a year ago, nobody would touch my Sigla
I've been
5.
getting feedback from listeners about how much they love the Koro kick. Everyone's into Koros.
Koros
right
are
now.
awesome. When they're
Koros are
aged.
good. Sigla
It's
5s.
like you guys finally
Yeah.
turned the page and realized how wonderful the
They
cigar
are
is.
wonderful.
Can I just say, boys, you're welcome.
Thank you.
They're so damn expensive. Though.
That's right.
That's the problem. The price is definitely a problem.
We'll
So
make sure
this
we
is-
steal it if we see it and get it.
This is a hot take. I think Rocky makes some good cigars, and they're high
does.
quality.
Mm.
They're they're relatively aged, and the price point is really good. They make a cigar called the Royale, which is very rich, chocolatey, sweet. Senator's had it. He would never take one out of my hands. He was gracious when I gave him one, and he said it was fine. I like that cigar a lot. I don't think any of you would probably take it from me.
Probably not.
I like to try it.
I might.
Yeah.
And I think the Decade is a really good cigar of his.
I used to smoke some of those, I believe, very early on,
The Decade.
talking 10 plus years ago.
Yeah.
And
Decade Robusto.
I never loved that cigar. I think I got it like on Cigar Bid or
Mhm.
Cigars International or something, like
Yeah.
one of those early packs you get when you're
Sure.
a young smoker. But that wasn't my thing.
There's a cigar I kind of smoke a lot. La Gloria Cubana.
Oh, yeah.
the new one-
Series,
the new
Series
world.
R.
Series R.
Those
Yeah.
are substantial cigars.
So they used to make them when EP Carrillo was there. That was his blend. Since then, the blend has really changed. They actually sweeten the tip of the cigar.
Oh, that's not good.
Really?
Yeah,
No good.
It's
You also
like-
like the Antonio,
I like the Antonio.
Hoyo de Nicaragua.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
Like I said, Grinder has about 10 that he can keep.
That's a great point. The arrow's right on you.
I do love the Antonio. Yeah, I mean, I smoked a lot of New World cigars for a long time, and I was very diverse. I would try a lot of different cigars, and I think that helped my palate a lot. And that's when I did start smoking Cubans with you guys. It was like a whole new world opened up to me, and I could quickly see the stark differences between the two different, genres, as it were. And I smoked a lot of different brands.
So that practice is what every cigar smoker should do. They should start and go on that long journey and discover what you like and what you
Which-
don't like.
Which is kind
So
of
he did it right.
Which is kind of what we are doing right now. Every other week,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
we're smoking a lot of cigars that we
That-
never thought that we
That
would
we've
smoke.
we've fallen
we're,
in love
we're
with.
smoking. I mean, think about it. Every year we smoke 50 plus cigars on the podcast, we review. I would argue, even including the Cubans, 35 to 40 of those 50 plus cigars we've never had or
That's right.
haven't had in recent
True.
memory.
Correct.
So, I mean, again, encouraging the listener to kind of go along with us or kind of follow that model of trying new stuff and then taking notes on it and developing a palate. I mean, without this podcast, without us doing this exercise, none of us would be at the point we are now. And it's simply because we put an appointment in the calendar every week
That's right.
and we show up and do it.
You have to smoke.
You have to do
You
it.
got to smoke. Consistently try new things. Take notes.
So that was a great question and a great email from Lizard Nicholas. Again, he's going to win Lizard of the Week. He's going to win some stuff from us. We had a pretty diverse night tonight, boys. Great bunch of emails here and a voice memo from Lizard Siegel. So we love voice memos. We love emails, comments on YouTube, Instagram, even on FOH, which I love FOH. I think it's the best place to learn about cigars on the internet as far as a forum goes. So he's going to win some stuff from us. We're going to send him a little pack from our humidors, a little gift pack. And every week we give away Lizard of the Week. So you can win. I promise you that. I have one more email, boys. This one is from Lizard Chris. He says, "Hey, Lizards, I hope you all had a great holiday and got the opportunity to spend time with his family. I also hope Rooster enjoyed his soy ball." We didn't ask you about that.
Oh, that's right. What
How
was for
was
dinner?
the soy ball for
was
Christmas?
it rotisserie or barbecue? Little
What is a
First,
soy ball?
let me clarify that.
You have to describe it.
What was
So
the
we don't-
diameter?
So this is
What was the
so
diameter
we
of
don't
the ball?
keep bringing this up over and over again. It is
That's
not
right.
a-
We're very good at
I'm
bringing
sorry.
stuff up.
It's coming up every year.
It's a roast that we buy either from Whole Foods or from Trader Joe's. It's actually has it's a roast. It's not necessarily round.
For the listener, I'm making a circumference shape, spherical shape with my hand.
Which personally I'm not a huge fan of.
Is it because it tastes like cardboard?
Is it because it's
No,
round?
It's not that. It's not that. I mean, it's okay, but it's all the other stuff that Thanksgiving meal.
The
everything,
sides.
all the sides are basically vegetarian. It's just the main, the meat course is the meat. But I enjoy all the sides. I enjoy the mac and cheese, the Lyonnaise potatoes or whatever kind of potato dish. All the green
casserole.
vegetables, green bean casserole. My wife makes a corn casserole. I mean, it's just great stuff. But I'm not a huge fan of Thanksgiving meal per se because it's kind of bland to me. I like spice.
Nice. So you got some Tabasco on the side. Just-
Sounds like the soy ball wasn't too good this year.
I-
It never is.
wow, that's a big shock.
I'm not a huge fan of it.
I would love to see
But I
a
eat
photograph of this thing.
Oh, I have plenty.
All right. Oh, yes.
So Lizard Chris continues here. He says, I wanted to share a smoking experience I had after getting a brand new case for Christmas. I received a brand new leather case for Christmas and without hesitation loaded up my cigar tools and unzipped the cigar pocket to let it breathe because it smelled heavily of fresh leather. I loaded some of my best sticks in there the next morning so I could hit the lounge after work. One of which was my very last Hoyo Epicure number 2 that I'd been aging for 3+ years. I met some of my friends at the lounge, cut the cap on the Epi 2, and the cold draw I got was predominantly leather. Not like a normal cigar leather, more like a wallet or your grandfather's couch. That's not good.
Very specific.
I then lit it up, took a couple of puffs, and lo and behold, more of Grandpa's couch. I smoked about a quarter of the way through and got none of the normal nuttiness, dried fruit, grass of what I remembered from an Epicure number 2. I was thoroughly disappointed, but then purchased a Davidoff Anniversario number 3 in replacement, which was absolutely sublime. I'm slightly concerned about my other sticks that I stored in there and then removed after that experience. I'm wondering if any of you guys ever had this happen before with a new leather cigar case.
It's not for storage.
Interesting.
Number one.
You cannot store cigars.
It's
in there.
only for transport.
Yeah, so definitely don't load it up the night before. I don't load my case until the moment I leave.
I agree.
I go to the tower, fill it, and leave.
Yeah, but you got to allow it a few days really to,
Yeah.
breathe out. It can't just be one
Should
day.
open it up and leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let it sit
I
out,
remember
let it
like
air
mine
out.
was out for a week
Good.
and a half, and then
Same thing
On
for
the
your,
train?
for your Tupper door.
Yeah, it's,
Yeah.
he left it out on the train
For a week.
It's still airing out.
Correct.
It's sitting in Secaucus somewhere.
Pagoda, we love you, man.
but the Satellos don't have it. They have like that whatever foamy kind of a
Yeah.
separation.
Yeah.
The thing I'll say, I mean, if I got a case that was smelling like fresh leather, what I would do is actually what I do with Tupperware when I get it, if it smells plasticky, is I'll actually leave it out on my front porch in the sun for a little bit, let the sun kind of beat down on it, not for days
That's
at a
a
time.
great
It kills
point.
the COVID, you know.
Yeah, that too.
Maybe fill it up with some kitty litter for a day or two.
But the leather in the sun's a great idea.
Yeah, so what I literally will put it on a
Yeah,
chair
yeah.
on my front porch and just let it sit there for a few hours.
Mhm.
Bring it back in if it doesn't do enough. But the Tupperware, I have a very similar issue. If I go to Home Depot and buy a new piece of Tupperware, it smells very plasticky.
Mhm.
So I'll just leave it out in the sun for a little bit
Yeah.
and it takes care of everything.
So that's off gassing. Everything new has some kind of an odor. But that heat, that's a great idea, Giz, honestly. The sun, especially for leather goods, it's a great point.
yeah, and you don't leave it out there for a while,
No.
just a couple hours, see
Yeah.
what happens, put it back out, and it'll
Yep.
eventually go away.
So if you get it as a Christmas gift in the Northeast, you just got to wait a few months.
The sun still works out there.
Correct.
Also, I have another episode suggestion. Since Cigar Aficionado's top 25 list is so bad and unreliable, that's Lizard Chris's words, not ours.
Correct.
I thought it, well, we say the same thing. I thought it would be fantastic for you all to compile a top cigars of the year list. Top 25 would be a little excessive, but perhaps doing a top 10 list with what you all thought was the absolute best cigar of the year on the pod or not would be really great. As we all know, cigars change and develop over time, so including the box code and year would be a cool way to differentiate from their boring list. On the other hand, when a cigar is performing at its absolute peak or is an absolute gem, I know that it would be difficult to do a pod-style review or include on the list if someone wouldn't want to share 6 to 7 cigars from a rare, expensive box. Couldn't be me. I do that all the time, Ben.
Correct. That's true.
Really just spitballing here, but I thought the idea has a lot of potential. As always, thank you, gentlemen, for your time, and Happy New Year, Lizard Chris.
Very good email.
So he sent that email right before our end of the year review. So we actually did put up on our Instagram the top 5 cigars of 2024 and the top 5 pairings of 2024. So you could check that out. And of course, if you listen to the last episode of the year where we did the Cohiba Esplendidos, which I guess is about 4 weeks now from tonight with this cigar, we did run through our top cigars and pairings of the year and also our worst cigars and pairings of the year. But, you know, we only review 50 plus cigars a year. So to do top 25
Mhm.
would be half of the year of our cigars. So we usually do 5 to 10. and we try to keep it diverse and exciting. And I think we had a very good year with our cigars last year. So hopefully we'll either match or beat it this year, boys. So thank you to Lizard Chris for the great email, and thanks to all of our listeners for sending great emails. We have so many. We can't get to them all the time, but we try. So thanks everybody for sending them in. So boys, we're coming to the end of our evening here with the Juan López Selección number 1 and our pairing, the Mijenta Tequila Blanco. What's everybody thinking?
It's absolutely delicious. It's clean. It's fruity. There's some mineral present. It's buttery still. So it pairs wonderfully with the cigar. I'm loving the Mijenta.
I love it too. I love the buttery that you referenced, the buttery flavor. The minerality is it's vibrant and refreshing, and it really kind of, it lightens up everything. I think the there's that agave flavor, but the salt and the saline of the spirit is, I don't know, it just kind of how you add salt and seasoning to every kind of dish you make. This with the cigar is fantastic because those spices, they complement each other in the cigar with the salinity of the tequila.
Absolutely,
I
correct.
couldn't agree more, especially at the tail end of this cigar. The saltiness in the spirit really is complementary at this stage.
I think individually, both the cigar and the pairing have progressed in a really great way.
Outstanding.
As we finish, and then together, I think, to Grinder's point, I mean, it's a home run.
Yeah,
this pairing
outstanding.
is excellent. Ricky, when was the last time you had Mijenta yourself?
About a month and a half ago. For some reason, I remember reviewing it on this pod, but I guess we didn't.
We did not.
But
we may have had it in the lounge.
Yeah, I think we had it in the lounge. Actually, you know what it is? A buddy of mine brought it for my birthday in July.
Ah.
And I remember
a month and a half ago, Bam. July.
Yeah.
Well, was that the bottle you finished?
Well,
you're pulling a Bam mind gap right there.
Listen, there's still about 1/3 of that bottle in my bar cabinet. So that, I don't drink it very fast. So, it's still, I sip as I go. And, but what I do remember, if you look at the Mijenta bottles, because of, the controversy that's happening in Mexico with the CRT rating tequila matchmakers' offices, because of the additive-free program, if you look at the Mijenta label, there's actually patches covering all of the additive-free statements on the bottle. That's something they had to do to sell because the CRT does not want to highlight. They don't want them to come up with their own additive-free program. The CRT wants to come up with their own.
Wow.
But I'm waiting for Cigar Aficionado to raid our offices.
Yeah, correct.
But I think
what gives them the right or
Well, it's in their best interest to do so because the companies that pay the most in certification fees and all of that for lab testing and everything are the big brands, the Don Julios, the Casamigos, all of the brands that aren't additive free.
The brands we would not waste our time with.
Yes. So, look, Don Julio always has a special place in my heart for obvious reasons. If you listen to the
Us
pod,
too.
you know
Mine
why.
too.
I know. It's
A lot
where we
of
started.
ice. A lot of ice, Pagoda.
Yeah, but that's where we started our tequila journey.
And it's what got me on here. So, but it's, at the end of the day, they're just protecting their interest. And I think if an additive free program becomes official, they want to be the ones that are able to monetize it. So that's what that's all about. So yeah, if you look on the label there, you'll see they're the same color as the label, but under those patches are all the additive free statements.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, didn't know that.
Yeah. So I remember getting the bottle for my birthday and saying to myself, "What the hell is going on here? Why is this covered?" And then I removed the patch and I saw, and that made me research what was going on, and that's what that led to.
All right, boys, it's time now to move into the formal liquor rating tonight on the Mijenta Tequila Blanco. Bam, you're up.
So, I can't speak enough to the tequila journey that I've been on. I mean, I haven't had scotch in a very, very long time. I've taken a deep dive into this spirit, this entire expression, and honestly, I don't see myself coming out of it in a very long time.
I got to say, Bam,
it's delicious.
A couple pods ago, we went to the lounge after we recorded, and Giz still had a taste for tequila.
Yeah.
And you pulled out some bangers out your locker.
I did.
That made me so proud.
Thank you. And honestly, I am all in. And I can't give this anything less than a 10 tonight. The price is extraordinary. The experience is unmatched. It's different than the previous tequila that we had. But again, this is what we've all said tonight. It's buttery, it's creamy. There's a saltiness that complements almost any Cuban cigar. There's a botanical nature to it. And the buttery creaminess is so unusual. How do you not love what you're drinking? It's a 10 all the way.
All right, Grinder.
I love the tequila. I think as I was drinking it, I felt like I was in Mexico with Senator right now,
And you took seconds.
right by the seaside with all that. It feels like you're in Mexico. When I look at the pairing, obviously the pairing was phenomenal. It was a knockout, right? So just looking at the tequila itself, this is a tequila that's very easy drinking but full flavor. You don't feel like I'm drinking this neat, and I'm shocked that it's so smooth. By itself, the flavors of the salinity, the minerality, but the smoothness, it's kind of encapsulated in this buttery cream, and I couldn't get enough of it. So I'm not going to give it a 10, Bam. I'm giving it a 9.
That's an
I
excellent rating for you.
I think we've had some really good Blancos on the pod previously that I probably would just give it a little edge. But yeah, 9's a great score.
Yeah.
All right, Chef Ricky.
Yeah, I'm at a 10. And I'm there. Now, we gave the Volans a 10 too, but the Volans was a very different spirit. All right. So it's not to say that everything is a 10 is going to be the same, or that if this was a 10 for you, then you find Mijenta or Volans to be a 10. You could rate either one, differently, and maybe a little lower or higher. But what I like about this that the Volans didn't do, the Volans was almost too smooth, right?
Yeah.
And it's not to discredit the Volans; it was a merit because it still had flavor. But this one delivers a more full flavor, but it also punches through with the agave. And I think sometimes people that are afraid of tequila, they're afraid of the flavor of agave. So if they're able to get into a repo or an añejo that kind of covers that up or mask it in some way, they enjoy a little bit more. But when you enjoy the flavor of agave and the tequila that's properly made, and they're harvesting ripe Blue Weber piñas to distill their spirits, then you taste it. And in this, they didn't hide it. I think the way that it's delivering a creamy, buttery note, but still has enough floral qualities on the nose. That is all because the agave is allowed to still shine and come through. So I think they executed that perfectly. I agree. I think like Uno was also a good example of that. They did that really well.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I love this. I love that there's a woman behind this and flexing her muscles, doing it and doing it well. I love the presentation, the packaging, the bottle, the glass top, everything that they're doing. I think it's great, and it's a wonderful product. It's a 10 for me.
All right, Pagoda.
Yeah, it's a 10 for me. I think I'd rated the Volans a bit lower. What I like about this, and I think Chef Ricky had mentioned this in the beginning, and I think even Grinder kind of reinforced that. They're the brightness to the spirit, which was, I think, lacking in the Volans. I shouldn't say lacking, but it was different, right? And I prefer the little brightness and a little sharpness. I think it may be slightly higher proof if I'm not. It feels like it.
It's not. It's not. This is also 40 proof, which is surprising.
I think that was 38, right? Or
No, the other one was 40.
40,
40
yeah.
as well, yeah.
Yeah, but this has that little
42.
thing where it feels that
The
it's
agave
got the
comes
little,
through
yeah,
more,
yeah. There's
It's a little
it's-
sharper.
and you wherever you may be in the world, I think tequila is really picking on a lot, especially because I think even from a health perspective, people are now preferring tequila. I think it's a journey. Fortunately for us, we've been able to really experience, and thank you, Chef Ricky, for introducing. I didn't even ask for ice. Did you realize that?
We realized.
Can I just ask what is the health benefit of drinking tequila?
So
No,
so
I
when
think there's some
Did I miss something?
So when you compare
Oh,
it
Chef's
with
got a whole
whiskeys-
line for you right now.
So yeah, no. So they're lower in caloric content, even lower than vodkas, and less sugar. There's in fact no sugar in it, right? I think, and so it has an added benefit when you're drinking spirits. I'm not saying-
comparatively to others.
comparatively
to a protein shake, yes.
Yeah.
comparatively to whiskey, meaning if you were to do it. But, so I think I want to just continue on this journey and experience and enjoy it, because now I think if I was just thinking about this when we were talking about tequila earlier, that I think a lot of my ratings for tequila have been very, very high.
I know. You're a tequila guy. It's time to accept it.
Yeah, so now I've got to kind of accept it.
There's a true reason for that.
And progress,
On the palate, it's so delicious. It's a different experience.
And I think we found some really great tequilas, and I think the way that they're pairing has been absolutely brilliant. And I'm also at a 10.
Nice.
So what I love about this spirit, I think that, I wouldn't call myself an experienced tequila drinker. I've only been drinking a few years. Obviously, Chef Ricky is someone that's very experienced, and a lot of our listeners out there are. I think this is a great tequila Blanco for an experienced drinker, but I also think this is great for someone who's never sipped tequila. And again, we've started the year with Valons 2 weeks ago, and now this one. And like I said, we're going to take a little break. So if you're not an agave person, we're going to take a break on tequila, but these last two tequila Blancos have
been... On the pod, anyway.
On the pod. Have been wonderful pairings, especially for the Cuban cigars we've paired them with. And I really think there's a merit to picking up a spirit that's not terribly viscous, not too hot on the alcohol, by volume. It's really a wonderful pairing for Cuban cigars.
I think what you said earlier was right on the money. It's great for both the experienced tequila guy and girl and someone just starting to get into tequilas, especially the last two spirits that we consumed. Excellent.
The buttery cream, the brininess, the
easy
light
drinking.
Viscosity, the easy drinking.
But
it's a perfect pairing.
But it's very sophisticated and complex if you take your time with it.
It is. And I think...
Oh, the other pet peeve, don't gulp.
Yes, that was it.
Don't gulp.
Do not gulp these incredible spirits that we're drinking. Let it sit in your mouth for a second or two and let it go down slowly.
And then gulp it in.
Nothing more painful than giving somebody a spirit to sip and then you just
I won't give them a drink.
And they make the fucking sound.
I know guys that do that. I will not give them they're not going to have a drink. I'm not giving them a cigar. Those guys.
I'm really encouraged by the tequila journey. I liked añejo and extra añejo because I was a big Scotch drinker. And I like the richness and the smoothness of those, those expressions. And that's probably why, the Uno is the little notch higher for me, because it's just rich. It's so creamy.
You would have liked the Valons a lot. I think you would have gave the Valons a really good rating. It's a little milder, right? But it's very rich and buttery.
Yeah, but my point is that, but I'm really enjoying Blancos now because of the experience I had with that, and I was like, wow, this is a Blanco. This is amazing.
And I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Pagoda would really enjoy some high proof Blancos.
Yeah,
I agree.
Maybe when we come back to the journey of 100%. Tequila, we start going the high proof route a little bit.
We're gonna call Uber that night.
So to everyone's point here. Finishing up on this rating, I think there's a trifecta right now for me with tequila Blancos and how they pair with cigars. It's the Uno Dos y Tres Uno, it's the Valons Blanco, and it's the Mijenta Blanco that we had tonight. That is the trifecta of excellent tequila Blancos that pair well with Cuban cigars.
And I just want to note for the enthusiasts out there or someone who's trying to get into this, these are all Highland Blancos. So as I've mentioned prior, any agaves that are grown in the highland regions of Mexico, which I believe is 5,500 feet and above, those agaves get stressed out more, right? Because the higher you go, there's more of a fluctuation in temperature, really cold nights, really warm days. That helps develop the sugars in the agaves and it helps deliver richer flavor profile. Whereas lowlands deliver more minerality, more vegetal notes, and more dry notes, if you will.
All right, boys, that puts the formal liquor rating tonight on the Mijenta Tequila Blanco at a 9.8.
Wow.
And we're going to compare that to the other two I mentioned. I think the trifecta here that we all mentioned in various aspects of our rating tonight. The Uno Dos y Tres, the 1, 2, 3 Blanco scored a 9.8. The Valons 2 weeks ago scored a flat 10.0. And the Mijenta tonight matched the Uno Dos y Tres Blanco at a 9.8. So those three are just
stellar,
so close to 10, if
They're
not 10
stellar,
across
stellar.
the board.
Rooster,
So
you're missing out on some good drinking.
I know, I see that.
what a great pairing for
At
cigars.
least I got
tonight.
to smell the glass.
That's true.
Hey, we'll keep that up.
Yeah.
All right, boys, it's time now to move into the formal lizard rating tonight on the Juan López Selección number 1. Rooster, you're up.
I'm trying to find something negative about this cigar, and I can't.
Are you?
There's nothing negative.
Correct.
Absolutely nothing negative. I mean, the flavor, the burn, the aroma at the burn line, the floral notes, the buttery, the toasted tobacco notes, the citrus. I mean, the cigar is just phenomenal. I don't know what it is. If it's really good tonight, or if it's, I think they're always good.
Don't forget, it's double the price.
Even still,
Yeah.
at $20 or right around $20,
$21.
it's a good price for a Habanos cigar. It's a great price,
Yeah.
and I think it's a great cigar. So for that reason, I'm at a 10.
There you
Wow.
go.
What?
There you
What? Is this your first 10 in like 500
No.
episodes?
go. No. Great score.
So for me, the cigar's a 9. It doesn't quite touch perfect for my palate. It didn't give me that euphoria that a 10 gives me, but God, was this a good cigar. I am blown away by the performance of this cigar tonight, the flavor, the draw, everything. However, as I got down to the end, early when we lit it, I was thinking about when's my next one? When am I going to reach back into this box? And you know what? I don't know now. Not because it was bad, but because it didn't ring my palate's bell in the way that it did Rooster's. And I knew that
I will buy the rest of your box.
I'll split it with you.
I'll buy the rest
I'll
of
go
your box.
thirdsies.
Count me in.
I still preferred, if we want to compare to other Corona Gordas, price aside, I do put this either third or fourth
Really?
compared to the Punch, the Cohiba Sigil 4, and the Magnum 46.
But those
This-
are different cigars, though.
But comparing the exact size, something very similar in the Habanos catalog, regular production, I would probably put this number 4 out of those 4. Not that it was bad. They're all very, very good, but this cigar tonight was excellent.
for your palate.
How do those compare in price to this?
The Magnum 46 and the Punch are right in line. And the Cohiba Sigil 4, of course, is probably triple the price of this. So not counting in price on my my commentary there. But I thought the cigar was great. It wasn't perfect for me, but I'm very happy with how it performed tonight.
I
It's a
bet
9.
I bet when you rated the Punch, and I don't remember the box code or the year it was from, I think you gave the Punch a lower rating.
I don't think.
I think I did because I think that
maybe an 8.
that was that was one we're going to do similar to this one because I think it got an unfair rating early on.
Yeah.
And it was a long, long time ago, probably in the, low double digits of podcast episodes. So we're going to revisit that and a different
should.
run of those cigars. I think it's probably going to be very close to this, if not beat it for me. I really love the Punch. I love this cigar. It didn't ring my bell to the level of a
9's
10.
a great score.
Nine's an
Nine's a
excellent
great
score.
score, yeah.
I'm justifying myself because,
We're kind of splitting
Rooster's
hairs.
giving me the eyes.
Yeah, he
here,
is.
Well,
Well, he does that to everybody.
so it's a 9 for me. Pagoda.
I think it's a 9 for me.
He doesn't.
So for me, what it was is I really enjoyed the beginning of the cigar, and I think I'd got a little bit of the orange rind, the marmalade is what we call it slightly. It's like a really specific kind of flavor.
Don't forget the jasmine.
No, I didn't.
At night.
I didn't experience a jasmine, but I'm glad to know that it's called Ratkirani. But having said that, I really enjoyed it. I think the first half was fantastic. It left a very pleasant flavor profile on the top of my palate. Things I really seek in a Cuban cigar. The burn line was great. The smoke output was fantastic. The one thing I didn't enjoy was a little too resistant for me. And I think towards the back end, the flavor profile changed in a way where I could not really understand what was really happening, but it moved away from the bit of the pleasantness. And I don't know whether it's...
It picked up in strength, I think.
Yeah, which is pretty natural.
Yeah, but in certain cigars, the flavor profile just continues and it just keeps enhancing it. But I must say that once I was having the tequila along with it, it was a very pleasant experience. And I think 9's a fantastic score. So
And by the
9 for
way,
me.
when Pagoda says in Hindi, the jasmine is Raat ki Rani. That means the queen of the night.
Night.
Bam, can you
Ooh,
write
Queen
that
of the
down,
Night.
please? Put that on the ledger.
I took a lizard memo.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Done.
Excellent.
That's going to be my next tattoo.
All right, Chef Ricky, you're up.
Oh, man.
I think Bam will have a lot of tattoos.
Oh yeah.
I feel like,
Correct.
as of late, I feel like the only number I know is 10. But that's where I'm at with this stick.
Awesome.
Wow.
It was an incredible experience for me. I'm very happy with the price point. It's something that's approachable, something I could see myself buying, something I'd love to slot in frequently if I get my hands on some. And I enjoyed it through and through. I was a little skeptical in the beginning because of the draw I was experiencing, but Rooster said just light it first, see what happens, and it worked out perfectly. I didn't need to use a perfect draw. I just had one relight after I did the whole reading of the history of Mijenta. But other than that, it's been rock solid throughout. And one of my favorite, with this cigar in particular, I picked up on it. When you get to the nub and you have that, I retrohale, so you have that experience where you're drawing on your cigar, you're retrohaling, but at the same time you're taking in the burn line, and that was like a just phenomenal experience.
You
just to
envelop
get
the
all of
entire
that. Yeah,
experience
yeah.
simultaneously through the retrohale, draw, and
Yep.
aroma.
Yep. And one of my favorite parts of the cigar was in the midpoint where we started getting some raspberry.
Mm-hmm.
That was really pleasant.
Yeah,
I did enjoy
I had a
that
hint
a
of
whole
that.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, for me it's a 10. I love the stick. I love that it's approachable. And yeah.
All right, Grinder.
I'm a 9. The cigar was really, it did ring a lot of my bells to begin with. The size, this is probably my favorite size. Corona Gorda is probably my favorite Vitola. I like pretty much all standard production Vitolas from Cuba across all the different marcas and that, and even outside of that in New World. That's a big plus. The burn line was outrageous. It was perfect construction. The flavor profiles were really optimal. I couldn't find any flaw in those spices that I was getting. The citrus was really surprising. Like we said, it really paired pretty nicely with that tequila. I don't want to beat a dead horse because all of you guys are saying the same thing. I did sense a turn towards the end, which happens a lot with this Vitola. Across all the different, whoever's making it, it does get a little stringent at the end and it gets a little prickly. And this one was a little more prickly than I liked because it started off so strong. So for that reason, and the final one is, it was just a little too tight. It was on the limit of, do I need a perfect draw or not? And because it wasn't over that threshold, I didn't do it. And it was just a little, I found myself probably smoking it too quickly because I felt like I had to inhale a little more, not inhale, but pull a little harder. And that could be a little troublesome. And I was way ahead of you guys. And as a result, at the end there, I had to pause and then I had to relight, and it kind of amplified that stringency. So overall, fantastic stick, and it's a solid 9 for me.
All right, excellent. Bam.
I think this JL1 compared to the first one that we had ages ago,
It's night and day.
it's night and day. It's leaps and bounds the experience that we had. This is one of my favorite cigars. I don't have it often, but I have enough in my collection where when I go to it, I ask myself, why don't I smoke these more often? I happen to love this final third of the cigar. I kind of had the opposite experience that you had. I thought that evolution from that plum and raisin and a little bit of citrus, and then it went to a more earthy type of experience. And as I went down deeper into this thing, it just, for me, got richer and richer. It didn't have any prickly nature to it, not for me. So because of those reasons, I'm at a 10. I think it was just an outstanding experience. Not to mention the fact that it almost paired beautifully, almost perfectly with what we drank tonight. 10.
All right, boys. That puts the formal lizard rating tonight on the Juan López Selección number 1 at a 9.5.
Now, let's go.
So let's compare that to the rating from episode 15 when we smoked a 2019 box of this cigar. The composite lizard score was a 7.7.
7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7. 7.
And what I remember, which is not much of that episode, I listened
I
to
know.
a little bit of it today. It was not even close
It,
to the experience we had tonight.
it goes back to everything you've been talking about regarding runs and the recent run of cigar production coming out of Cuba, how ready they are to smoke soon after they make them. I think we've got that experience here.
So this isn't gizflation,
This is not gizflation, no.
not grade gizflation.
This
That's
is not great gizflation. I think I will say this. I will say 150 some odd episodes ago, I do question the humidity that we smoked those cigars
Of
at.
course.
I do question our understanding of Cuban cigars at the time because we were new to the journey. And I think now
And the environment, right? I
And the
with
environment.
garage,
That's
yeah.
right.
in the environment, I think now, and this is why I think there's a benefit to revisiting some of these cigars. I think now we have a much greater perspective on things. I think to Bam's point, the run of cigars that Cuba is on right now or has been 22, 23, 24, even a few years before that,
19.
they're smoking brilliantly.
They are.
They're smoking great. So this is a good example of a cigar at a 9.5 tonight that is an absolute must buy for any lizard out there. If you can get a box somewhere, if you can get a 5 or a 10 pack, whatever it may
Mhm.
be, I think this is a cigar you need to try. And I think that, again, going back to our earlier comments about the flavor notes, I think this is a cigar, when you smoke this at the right condition, the notes that you get on it were so pronounced. Even though I gave it a 9 and I didn't give it a perfect score, the notes that we got, especially early on, were so distinct that I think for someone trying to train their palate
Yeah.
on Cuban
This
cigars,
is a good candidate
this
for that.
is a great candidate for that.
Correct.
Great candidate for that.
Take your notes.
I think this is a very, very good one. So I do want to compare our ratings versus the original one. I pulled the individual
I guarantee
scores.
Rooster and I had the highest scores.
So,
Eight.
so
I
On the
probably gave it a
sevens.
9.
on the 7s, we had Puba.
No
We had a
doubt.
full house that night. Puba, Pagoda, and Grinder all had 7s.
Wow.
Rooster, Senator, and Gizmo all had 8s.
I
And
was the
Bam
most
Was
enthusiastic.
the standalone 9.
Of course.
So you weren't that far off.
I
You
saved
weren't
the,
that
I
far
saved the
off.
rating that night for that damn thing.
You did.
So the other one I want to compare to, we did the Juan López Selección number 2, the Robusta we talked about much, much later on episode 92, not as long ago. That scored a 7.2.
Mm.
So we did say that we, I think in the room here, in our experience, have preferred the Corona Gorda number 1 versus the Robusto number 2. I actually had a number 2 more recently, probably in the last 6 months, and it wasn't great. And you agree with that, right, Rooster?
I do. I mean, I like the number 1 more than the number 2, but the number 2 is, I think, 7s is a bit low
It's a
for
decent
that
cigar.
Yeah, and I just want to say, like the production out of Cuba now. I mean, this is a 2022 box, right? So I think even 23 and 24s are gonna smoke phenomenal.
They're very good.
Just the way the weather has been in Cuba, the hurricanes and tornadoes and all of that, that all means it's going to be a richer soil. It's going to be a richer experience, and
Mhm.
those cigars are going to be phenomenal.
Yeah.
So go out and buy, even if you get a fresh box.
Yeah, and of
You
course,
should be ready to
any
smoke.
yeah.
listeners out there who maybe experienced what we talked about on episode 15 or not, or even now, what you're experiencing as we smoke tonight together, send us an email. Tell us
Mhm.
what you're thinking. Tell us what you experienced, because I'm curious if what we had tonight in the room is divergent from what our listeners are experiencing at home.
Correct.
All right, boys, a great night tonight. Let's review one more time. The Mijenta Tequila Blanco scored a 9.8, and the Juan López Selección number 1 from Cuba scored a 9.5. Another home run pairing, boys.
Fantastic night.
Home run.
We're getting too good at this.
Oh, yeah.
I want to thank all of our listeners again for writing us. We really appreciate hearing from you all. Please keep it up. We want more emails, more voice memos, more comments in 2025. Do not hesitate to sit down at your keyboard or pull up your phone and send us something. We want to hear from you. Congratulations to Lizard Nicholas. Again, our Lizard of the Week. He's going to win some stuff from us. Thanks to our sponsor, Fabrica 5. They are great partners to us. You got to try some of their cigars if you haven't. Check out their site, fabrica005.com. And boys, we'll see everybody next week. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks for joining us. You can find our merch store and ratings archive at our brand new website, loungelizardspod.com. That's loungelizardspod.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. If you have any comments, questions, if you want to reach out, say hello, tell us what you're smoking, email us hello@loungelizardspod.com. You can also find us on Instagram @loungelizardspod. We really appreciate your time, and we'll see you next week.